Hey, isn't that reversed?
Yes, it is.
Why?
All right, welcome. Another live stream. Or hold on, I'd like to put a little bit more. Come a little this way, a little bit more. Come towards me. There we go.
Hello.
Another live stream. This is I have been doing one of these every day this week, and it's been a great time. But this time, we have got my good friend, actually in person, not just. Sorry about that. There we go. My good friend in person, not just in the chat. He is a paranormal investigator, Nicholas Romita of Canadian Paranormal Trackers. You can see he's got the shirt, CPT. Yep. So we'll give it a couple minutes, though. Usually it takes about
5 to 10 minutes.
5-10 minutes for people to start showing up. So we'll just wait. But we had a great time this morning, grabbing some coffee, having a light breakfast, hanging out at the casino. Thank you to the casino thank you to, I gotta give a shout out, PlaySmart Ontario, because they have a coffee break and they have some great coffee there every day at 11. So if you are at the casino and you need to, or just want to take a break from gambling and are worried maybe about how much you're gambling, best place to go, PlaySmart, grab a coffee, learn about how it works, make sure you're playing safely, all that good stuff. I got to give a huge shout out to them. And they're friendly people as well.
And don't spend too much money.
Good advice as always. All right, so we'll give it a few. In the meantime, Nicholas, sir, what are your plans for Halloween?
Not much.
What did we talk about yesterday? You're going to watch the movies, right?
Yeah, that's all I'm going to be doing.
I think that's not much. Those are some pretty good plans. What are the movies you're going to be watching?
Poltergeist, Sleepy Hollow, 100 Feet. There was another one that I can't remember.
So what is 100 Feet about?
100 Feet is about, it's about a woman that technically she murdered her husband, who's a police officer, and she gets released, and she's at home, and where the word 100 feet comes from is she's only allowed 100 feet because she's wearing a bracelet, an ankle bracelet, and she's only allowed 100 feet from the main box.
So it's one of those things where, like, if she goes more than 100 feet,
an alarm goes off, and then it's notified to the police.
That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah. And then the police doesn't believe her, but then close towards the end, he believes her, and he actually sees his dead husband. Actually, her husband, the police officer that is outside surveillance her, was his partner. And yeah.
Right. So we were at the casino this morning. We asked a couple people. You now have come to the conclusion you think the casino is haunted.
Yeah.
What makes you think that?
Well, I talked to a couple people, and they say that there has been some deceased people at the hotel and in the casino.
Here's a question, because we were kind of talking about this, and I'm curious, how would you try to, if you could, I'm not saying to do this or anything, but when you're dealing with a location that is open 24 hours a day, that has a lot of people coming in and out of it, how would you try to go about an investigation in that circumstances versus like what we did at the Masonic Temple, where it's private, it's quiet, it's you can, at night, it's kind of, you can turn off the lights, and you can, you don't have constant noise, constant people, constant music. Even at the casino, right, you've got the music playing in the background 24/7, the radio. So how would you, or we talked about hospitals or airports where there's 24-hour lights, 24-hour sounds, how would you perform an investigation?
You can't. because with all the noises around on the surrounding area, will contaminate the evidence.
But let's say you had no choice, like, well, not no choice, but you were asked and they offered you $1 million to run it. What makes you do?
To do it, it would slow down the whole investigation, basically, because it's hard. Because like if you got people walking outside or above you or below you or whatever, right? We have to put in an account that is that just the people, the guests in the place, or is it actually paranormal? So that's why it's hard when you're dealing with people in an area that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
What would you do in circumstances where it's like semi-public, semi-private? So like hotels, you brought up, right? Because in a hotel, you kind of have, you have rooms that are private,
yeah,
but you still have the hallways that are going to be lit up constantly, or people walking in and out.
Yeah, it works the same way, right? It's hard because you don't want to contaminate anything that's in that room and not coming from the outside, right, of that room. And it's tricky. It's not an easy unless it's an abandoned place, then that's a different story.
What would you say? Okay, so let's imagine, because I'm curious about this, because I feel like this is one of those areas that like people you never see, right? So I run a busy airport that's pretty full of people pretty regularly, and I call you and I say, in 1 week we need an investigation. Mm-hmm. What would the process be like for a busy place? Would you try to work it out in sections? So you'd be like, okay, figure out which areas of the airport at any given time are less busy, or see if you can close off smaller sections, do an investigation, then go to the next section, because obviously they can't shut down the whole airport.
Yeah. It still works the same situation, even with the hotel, right? It's hard. You could try and take sections of it, but you're still gonna get some kind of noise from somewhere inside the building.
What if you had to do it stealthily? Like what if could you do an investigation, like not tell anybody, but bring some type of equipment and just perform an investigation in, say, a casino, a hospital, whatever it is? Mm-hmm. Or do you think, would it be too obvious that you're doing, or could you bring certain readings or set things up and just kind of monitor them?
Yeah, that's basic. No, it's doing a stealth investigation. It's wouldn't be an easy thing to do.
What about then going on the other side of it? Because we talked about this a little bit last time. Outdoor investigations, like in a graveyard, for example. But when you run into some of the same problems with that, of nature sounds and crickets and birds, and also if it's close to a road, for example?
Well, if cricket sounds, everybody knows what a cricket sounds like and all that, but it'd be less quieter, okay, and plus depends what time you do it too. Like if you do 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., right, you're not gonna get that many people on the roads. So
wouldn't the wind kind of, like if you have a microphone, you're listening for sounds. If you have
the wind, you can't help that.
So what would you say is the biggest challenge that you face, or that any paranormal team faces when involved in an investigation?
It just depends on the situation. Like if it's an abandoned, you got to be careful with the age of the place, and is it stable or is it not stable? Is it crumbling?
When you say stable, you mean like the floors, the walls,
Yeah.
the
And
electrical?
the ceilings, yeah. That's the things that you got to look at it. Like you got to do it for yourself, for your safety, and plus your team's safety, and you just want to go in there, do a job that is safe, and no one coming out getting hurt.
And in terms of people potentially getting hurt, like, is it primarily just physical dangers, or do you worry about people getting hurt from some of the spiritual stuff as well?
Both. Like you got it's more over the spiritual side more. It's because like if you intimidate them or if you provoke them, right, they could get really angry, and if they get angry, they will do some damage, like throw things at you or scratch you or leave a big bruise.
So you've been talking a lot, and you mentioned it on the chat a couple of times, right? That you're looking at getting your team started again.
Yeah.
What are some things you look for in a paranormal investigative team?
I'm looking for people basically who are who's committed, who to do this, and available on times when I need them. Basically, people that are trustworthy, right, and that listen to instructions.
And are there certain technical skills that you would look for? So, for example, when it comes to the ability to use the machinery or the equipment, or
Yep.
A history of paranormal investigations, like what are the technical skills that you think might be necessary?
Well, mostly I look for people like that. I try to look for people that know how to use some of the equipment already. Because if they already know how to use like a video camera and some gadgets, like there's some stuff that they don't know about, right? I can show them how to use it.
Is there a difference, you think? Like, so what is more the emphasis, though? Because I remember back in the day, I took part in an archaeological dig in a small town of like 7 people, Lauder, Manitoba, which was a lot of fun. But I remember the professor who was running the dig, he said something interesting, right? He's talked about how, like, I think it was like 60% of our grade was based on our actual like archaeological skills and how we did the digging and how we recorded things and all that. And then he said, though, 40% is based on how we act with the team and at the campsite, right? And he said that, like, you can be a good archaeologist or great archaeologist, but if nobody likes hanging out with you, or if you're kind of difficult to work in a team environment, then it doesn't matter. Nobody's going to hire you. So, like, from your perspective, in terms of the ratio, like, how much in a teammate are you looking for somebody who is able to get along with others and work well in a team and is coachable versus kind of the competence in using the equipment and their kind of investigative skills?
I'm not going to say 100%, but like it'd probably be like 80, right? They have to. I need people that will get along with other people, and just help each other out. Like if they need help with things, right? Basically, that's what it is. It's just I need people that I could depend on, and other people could depend on each other too.
How many hours would you say you spend before an investigation researching the location of where you're going to be doing the investigation?
It depends on the location. But yeah, I would say about usually about a week. Okay, sometimes 4 or 5 days maybe, but it depends on the place, and plus what information you can find it online, and what we have to go to, like the historical um,
And
centers.
what does those investigations look like? Like, so before you be, or I guess researches, right? Before you actually at the location,
Yeah.
what are you looking up? How are you researching?
Well, the property basically. We find out what was there before, what's on that property now, and and then we do the surrounding of it, like if there was like any graves, like there was a cemetery there before, and they just took the tombstones there and left the bodies there. Um, to recommend that to all people, if you're going to move graves, cemetery, please take the bodies with you.
How often does that actually happen?
It happens a lot. Like,
Is it a matter of their, like,
I think
I can't imagine that would happen.
I think it's laziness. Like, I think they just want to get things done.
Could it be more a matter of like unmarked graves? So like, because if you're, I'd imagine, especially in older cemeteries, there might be situations where you have graves that are maybe not marked properly, or older graves, or maybe even a body that's buried on top. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I feel like if you go back long enough to older graveyards, that's gonna come up, I would think, as being potentially an issue.
Yeah, it can. Like, if you, like, basically, when if you have an unmarked grave, right, but there's a body there, but there's no tombstone there, right, that will bring up the activity a lot more, because they're upset. Their spirits are upset because they weren't properly buried, and they can do a lot of give a person a lot of trouble.
So what do you think, and in terms of like an unmarked grave or unmarked graves, is that a matter of like the record keeping, or is that just over time? You know, I'm sure even there must be some, at least, I don't know what the right term is, abandoned or forgotten cemeteries around around
It's
Ontario, who, like, it's just over time they get overgrown, they get forgotten about. It's on private land.
Yeah, it could be in both, like in both situations, right? And it's not really a nice picture to see, but it's but sometimes that's how it is. Like, some people, like, could be down people like in the 1800s, right? Sometimes they'll just, if someone gets killed, and they just throw him in a hole and bury him, and that's it, and walks away. Right?
Well, that's a different, although that also brings up the interesting question of ashes, right? I've always wondered about that. So if you're spreading ashes somewhere, because I understand maybe if the ashes are kept in like an urn and it's buried somewhere, it's one thing. But if you, let's say you're spreading ashes somewhere outdoors, I mean, what happens then in terms of the spirit, right? Because it's not going to be connected to,
Well,
it's going to be pretty much over the four cardinal. It's going to be over the whole world, basically, or it's going to get over the whole world over time.
Well, that is a good question, but I think what it is, it's whatever that deceased person wanted it. Like, say, if there was a certain place, like a pond they always loved, and they wanted me, right? They always go there fishing or canoeing or whatever, right? They would want their ashes spread out in the water. Like, if it's like a relative, say a relative they like, but they're already dead, right? Passed away. then they can be spread on that person's grave.
Yeah, I mean, we just spread my mom's ashes. Oh my gosh, over the summer. Can't believe it's been. Feels like it was just yesterday. Time flies, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right. If you're just joining us, because I've seen some people jump in and out watching this, hit the like button and subscribe button, and also jump in the chat, say hello. Let's throw this in here. I'm going to add this in as our poll. It is a beautiful fall day out. So we're asking you before, you said you're going to watch 100 Feet. What other horror movies are you going to watch?
Poltergeist.
Which one?
The original.
Any of the sequels as well, or?
No, there was no sequel. There was a remake.
No, there was a sequel. There was 3 sequels.
Oh, yeah.
There was the last one took place
there's
in.
the remake one that I didn't like at all.
The last one took place in Chicago. The last sequel, I should say.
Yeah, and Poltergeist 3. Yeah.
See,
But I think I like one better.
If I do recall correctly, the sequel on Tubi, you have the original, not the original. You have the
remake.
The remake.
Yeah, I didn't like the remake. How it was almost the same as the original. Not totally the same, but the same idea.
Let's see. Polaroid is on Tubi. I've been saying this for a while. Tubi, Tubi, has the best.
Yeah, I saw Polaroid. That was good.
Has the best horror movies out there right now in terms of like. So yeah.
This is Halloween. That's right.
It is, but you also did your Friday the 13th. What's it called? Your Friday the 13th marathon.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks ago, because Friday the 13th fell in October this year, if I recall it correctly, right? It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Friday the 13th movie?
I have 2. The first one in number 10.
See, the first one, I don't think that's anybody's favorite except for you. You're being very strange about. You're being different.
No, you like one too.
I like one, but it's not my favorite. I would say my favorite of the Friday the 13th is either Friday the 13th Part 3, or which I think 3 gets super underrated, by the way. Friday the 13th Part 3, that one in 3D, or Friday the 13th Part 6. That's one where Jason gets hit by lightning. Oh, yeah. Somebody took the time to answer our poll. We've had 1 vote 2 minutes ago. Do you believe in the paranormal? Somebody said yes. Thank you so much.
Thank
if you
you.
Want to, I know not everybody likes to jump in the chat, but if you want to jump in the chat and say why you believe in it, let me know.
Yep.
Or what makes you think.
Or any questions you have on the paranormal, I'll be glad to try to answer.
Usually it takes about half an hour for people to start showing up, so we got a bit of time. Yeah, I'm going to end this poll though and add another one. Would you be... Oops, that didn't work at all. Let's try this again. Add poll. Darn it. Start a poll. Would you be interested in joining a paranormal team? There you go. Would you be interested in joining a paranormal team? Yes, no. And let us know why. We'll give it a few minutes, see who else jumps on. Jump in the chat, though. Hit the like button, subscribe button. So we got people joining us, coming and going a lot. No. So somebody jumped in again on the poll and said no, they would not be interested in joining a paranormal team. I mean, I will say this. I took part in 3 paranormal investigations.
2 of mine.
2 of you and 1 in Johnstown, and they were all fun. The most fun was the one I did with this guy, but I enjoyed them all a lot. So, oh, wait, we got 2 votes. One saying we got 3 votes.
67.
So 2 people say yes, and 1 person say no. Patricia Collins just jumped on. Thank you so much, Patricia.
Thank
Welcome. Joe 2310. I don't know who Joe is, but do you know?
Patricia, let's go with Patricia.
But I mean, Patricia really likes this Joe character a lot. Well, thank you, Patricia. Let me know, by the way, if you answered the poll. Would you be interested in joining a paranormal investigation? Yes or no, or a paranormal team, I should say. Hey, Courtney. Glad that you are traveling with your team and on your family road trip. Hope it's going well. Where you? Peter. Welcome.
Hi, Peter.
Thank you for coming back. It's great to see you again. I was yes on the first one and no on the second. Too scared for a team. Sorry, guys, not hearing you currently. We'll jump to you with sound in a minute when the other one stops. You should be able to hear us. Let me know why if you still can't. Yes, it's going well. Good. I'm glad to hear it. Hope the road trip goes well. Let me know where you're going. And thank you, by the way, Peter, for sending me all of your information on the all of your info on Messenger in terms of, let me just pull it up here to check it out while we're talking where it was. Let's see. Here it is. Look at all this stuff that Peter sent me this morning. I just said Joe because of Patricia Collins, which I don't know what all these Joes are for or all about.
Patricia, who's this Joe?
Hey, Cameron, I have those linked this morning. Drawing parallels between Westworld and Masonic rituals and included the Matrix too. I haven't read it yet, Peter, but it looks awesome. Thank you so much.
Actually, there's going to be another Matrix movie, by the way.
Oh, no, it's all good. I'm just trying to watch two streams at the same time. Oh, no, you're watching the other stream, right? The link that you sent me. I tried to find it this morning, and for some reason, I couldn't get the sound. I'm going to try again. Let me see if I can find it.
Let me message you, Jack.
All right. I don't know what all these weird Joes are, but there you go. Colorado guys. Hello, Nicholas. So glad you came. So excited. So you're going to Colorado. How long of a trip is that, Colorado from Texas? It's going to be a pretty good trip, I would think.
Hi, Courtney. How are you?
I'm going to see if I can go back on and check out that stream again, though, see if it's working this time. It's the T at Mephisto's that you're checking out, I'm assuming, right? But everybody else who's on here, welcome. Jump in the chat, say hello, answer our poll question, and let me know what you guys want to talk about.
About 8 hours.
Yeah, it sounds about right. So that's awesome, though. Let's see if I can find it on YouTube quickly. What would you say? We're talking about this stuff. How scary would you say you find paranormal investigations? Because that was brought up by Peter when he talked about,
scary. Some places are scarier than others. But like when you're working in pure darkness and you can't see anybody in front of you, and that makes it spookier.
But would you ever work in true darkness, or wouldn't you
Yeah.
want to have like at least night vision or something? Because you want to be able to see
Well,
enough that.
Yeah, well, like that's what I'm saying. Like night vision is the only thing that can help you get through the darkness, right? If we didn't have that, we would be sitting in one spot for the whole investigation.
I actually got a chance not that long ago to look through night vision goggles for the first time at Heritage Lodge, where they were doing a paranormal investigation.
Mhm.
Oh, we got some more people joining us. Once again, hit the like button and subscribe button and jump in the chat. Answer our poll question. Would you want to take part in a paranormal investigation, as well as let us know in the chat what's going on? We're here talking about Freemasonry and the paranormal. If you're a Mason, let me know the standard question everybody always asks. Do you think your Masonic temple or Masonic building is haunted? And has there ever been a Masonic investigation or a paranormal investigation that took place in your building? And also, for my interest, let me know how you guys found us. Did you check us out? Like, did you find us on YouTube, on the external sources, on Facebook, all that stuff? Because that really helps me know where to send more of my things. And Patricia Collins, I put you in timeout because I don't know what all these weird messages were about Joe, but you know.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate your comment, Courtney.
Let me know, Courtney, if you put in the vote or if you didn't in the chat in the poll. Would you want to take part in a paranormal investigation? I'm guessing it has an entity, right? Because you've been in a few different investigations. So
have I had an entity touch me? Yes, I have.
Was it ever during an investigation?
Yeah.
Was it ever not during an investigation as well?
No.
Okay, so it's always been during an investigation. Yeah. Now, what was it like a hard? Was it like how hard, how solid was it? If that makes any sense.
Well, let's just say it was. It was a peaceful one, a peaceful spirit. So.
Oh, just 1 second. I'm gonna let Nicholas keep talking here. Keep answering some questions because we got a knock on my door.
Oh, go ahead.
Feel free to keep asking.
Use the camera.
Hey, we're doing something on YouTube right now.
Oh, it's okay.
Can you come back?
When you gonna work?
I'll probably be here for a bit, but tonight maybe.
Okay, I come back at let's see, 1 o'clock.
How about you probably do like 7 o'clock or
No,
so?
I think I gotta go.
I work so be here probably till 1 o'clock at least. So
2 o'clock?
I don't know. I'm not going for a while, so
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, is it that bad?
No, we're just doing something online right now.
No, I see you can't do something that you can open, you say?
Oh, it's the door.
Oh, this door?
Yeah.
Oh, better on top of the it's wrong.
Okay.
Okay. What happened?
I don't know. Just didn't.
Okay, I'll talk to
Well, that's good, Courtney.
Go back on.
I would like to. I'm glad you will enjoy that. I just answered her last one.
Oh, that's my passion. Heck yeah, I would in a heartbeat. Well, you know, I'm sure that there are some investigations taking place in Texas,
yeah,
in Brownwood, right?
No, there's investigations all over the place, like,
or at least some paranormal investigative teams rocking out in Brownwood in Texas.
Yeah. Now, just to let everyone know, if you go on these other paranormal investigations with a group, like a group tour, just be careful that nothing doesn't get attached to you. Because if it does, then you're going to be bringing it home. So that's something you don't want.
Well, what does that mean to be attached?
Oh, if the spirit really likes you and they can attach you to you and follow you home.
What would you say? So, but what? So would they then? Let's say they're haunting location A,
Yeah.
and they get attached to you. Are they going to be then haunting location B, like where you go? Are they? Will they go back to location A, or how would it work in terms of their locations?
That's a good question, but it's hard to say. Like everybody's different, and every spirit is different. So there has been investigators that go like into cemeteries, right? And then they come home, and 2 days later they're getting paranormal activity inside their home. So that's something you try not to want to do, is bring an uninvited guest.
Now we've talked a lot about, because the nature of your work, right? We always kind of talk about it in terms of paranormal investigations, in terms of ghosts. But what about in terms of other supernatural entities? Like, have you had any involvement with others, or is your experience kind of primarily or exclusively with ghosts?
No, not just ghosts. I've had experiences with a demon. That wasn't fun. And some angry entities that just are just upset and died miserably.
Well, but is that, what about things like like vampires, all that jazz? Like, do you have any belief in any of those type of things, like physical?
No.
So in your,
not in my lifetime,
it's kind of all metaphysical, or what would be the term you would use to describe, say, a ghost, for example?
Well,
incorporeal.
Well, with ghosts or vampires?
Well, so like a ghost versus a vampire, right, or a demon, right? Because those are things that it seems like you wouldn't be able to actually touch necessarily, or I mean, like Corey's saying, right? You can't touch them, but they're not like, they don't have a physical presence in the way some of these other kind of mythological creatures, like a vampire or Bigfoot does, for example.
Well, Bigfoot. Well, I've never come in contact with.
It's interesting. I was at Johnstown Masonic Temple, Johnstown Masonic Event Center, and they did a supernatural expo. And one of the things that they did, though, was actually they had a bunch of Bigfoot investigators. But part of that had to do with the location of Johnstown, because it's in Pennsylvania, and supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly Bigfoot's like main location, if that's the word, or main habitat, I guess would be better, environment, is like the Allegheny Mountains or the Pennsylvania mountains. But those are more corporeal things, right? Ghosts and stuff don't have the same kind of physicality.
No, not always. No.
What's the most haunted building or facility that you've ever encountered? Asks Courtney.
Oh, the most haunted building. It was okay. It wasn't really a building. It was actually someone's home. Actually, it was haunted. Like, it was so haunted. It was like you could cut a knife through it. And the whole feeling, the whole atmosphere inside the home was totally different.
Was it an older house or a newer house?
It was I believe a 75-year-old home.
Do you think that the age of the building affects the amount of haunting, or
Sometimes, like anything over 100 years, right? Depends on the history of it. Could be possibly haunted.
why does is it just because the longer something's been around, the more time there's been for things to like go awry type of deal?
Yeah. Like it's like every time, like, okay, let's go with the house, right? So every time someone buys a house and they step into the house, everybody leaves some kind of imprint. Okay? And if they sell the house and someone else moves in, they put their imprint. But from the first person, that imprint will always stay in that house. So more people that get into a home, they all always leave an imprint.
Well, I think we talked about that yesterday, right? Like, because my view on it was ghosts are more like, we leave kind of emotional imprints around. So if we're even if we're not passed away or nothing, but we're in a place and we're angry, that kind of energy, if that's the word, it kind of stays there. And even if you're still alive, people will feel that angry energy if they're in the same building later on, and happiness as well. And I think over time, right, you have more emotions, so you're going to have more of those kind of feelings.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
And you also yesterday did want to bring up, because you mentioned it in our chat, we're talking about aliens. You did say you wanted to mention aliens. I am on the team aliens don't exist. You apparently are on a different team.
Yeah.
What makes you think aliens exist, sir? And by the way, we've had some people jump in the chat again, or jump in and watch. Answer a poll question if you want. Jump in the chat and say where you're from. And also, if you're a Mason, let me know if your Masonic building you think it might be haunted, or if you've had any experiences with the paranormal and Freemasonry. And so back to you, sir. Why do you think aliens exist?
Well, I believe we're not. What I believe is that we're not alone in the universe, and I believe that I have a friend who, not mentioning any names, was actually abducted by aliens.
Okay, so do you think that, like, to me, would it be possible to detect an age on the entity? Do you mean?
Oh, the age? No, that is not a possible thing. I wish it was.
Well, we talked about it before, though, right? And I think one of our last streams, like when we say age, do you mean, so if it's a ghost, the age that the person was when he or she passed away and became a ghost?
Yeah.
Or do you mean the age of like how long? So let's say Jim Smith passes away at the age of 32 in the year 1901.
Yeah.
Or 1924, let's say.
Okay.
So by age, is it possible to tell if the ghost is a 34-year-old man or whatever, or that the ghost has been a ghost for, let's say, 100 years if he passed away in 1924?
No. Like, usually when we do catch a conversation with a spirit, we will ask for their ages. Now, it's up to them if they would tell us exactly their age, like when they died, or what their age is then at that moment. But when you die, like, your age stops, like it doesn't proceed. But like
time still proceeds, right? So would the ghost be aware of, like, I've been here for a long time type of situation, right?
Yeah.
Like, would he have some understanding of the passage of time, even though he or she is not getting older themselves?
Yeah, that's right. But it's but like, if their family is still alive, right? They will say, "Oh, Well, he died when he was 32. Right now, today he would probably be 48. Right, like if only it's an assumed number.
How aware would you say you are when it comes to, or not how aware you are? How aware do you think an alien? How aware do you think a ghost or a spirit is in terms of in terms of the outside world? So, for example, if the spirit passes away, let's say in a Masonic temple, or if the spirit is haunting a Masonic temple for 100 years, is the spirit going to be aware of kind of the changes that is going on in the outside world? So, from 1924, let's say, to 2024. The cars, the politics, the technology, all that stuff is going to be so different.
Yeah.
How aware would the spirit be of changing times?
Not much. Like they won't know what's new, what's their time. Like they may know, like say they didn't have a book, right? Sometimes they could identify a book from today, right? But not all the time.
When you say a book from a book from today versus a book from the past type of thing?
Yeah, well, like let's say the original first edition of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Okay, how it was then, and then what the book is like today. They that changes, but sometimes they can identify it.
Peter, wait, are you having conversation with entities? How does that happen? What are they talking about? I guess it's not just about their earthly life. That sounds really interesting. So what type of conversations would you have with an entity, and how would you have the conversations with the entity?
Well, like we use
if you hold on just 1 second, I'm going to go shut this window because the voice, but you can keep talking.
Yeah, we use different terms, different equipments, like an EMF reader, right? That has lights, and sometimes they could do like yes or no questions, and if they by lighting up the devices will tell us some kind of answer, and that's how we have conversations with the spirits.
Have you ever managed to have a full question answer conversation the way we're having, or
He's just so
does it tend to be more
it's
stilted?
a simple yes or no question. Oh, okay. Yes.
No, I think what he's saying is to the ghost. Like, could you ask an open-ended question? Mm-hmm. So, like, how are you feeling today?
Yeah.
Or does it have to be yes or no questions? Like, are you happy? Are you sad? Because I mean, based on my experience with paranormal investigations, I've never seen like a full conversation like we're having.
Yeah.
It tends to be from the spirits, you get very short one-word answers.
Yeah. Or sometimes you get like a short sentence. Like sometimes if they have enough energy, they could do small sentences, right? But that they also could we get answers from them off of a device called a digital recorder, where you can't hear it with your own ears, but when you play it back, sometimes they'll respond to the question that you asked.
Do you think that, as to what Peter was saying there, I guess, so how much are you asking them about their earthly life? So like, learning information about what their job was, who they were, what they were when they passed away, versus how much are you asking them about like their existence as a spirit? So would you be more interested in, so let's say, knocking on wood, doesn't happen, but let's say I pass away tomorrow, mm-hmm. And you come across, as an investigator, you come across me.
Yeah.
How interested are you going to be in my life and experiences for the first 41 years of my life when I was alive, or are you going to be more interested in my experiences as a ghost from the time I passed away to when you meet
Basically,
me?
just as a ghost, as a spirit.
See, I find that interesting. I feel like it'd be more 50-50 because
well, no, like sometimes we'll ask question, or what did you do when you were alive? Did you have any family? Did you have a wife? Did you have kids? But we try not to get too personal with them, with the spirits. We just wanted just to get. We really just want to know what is their story. That's basically all why we connect with spirits, is because we want to know their story.
But do you think that the so again, to what extent does the story of their life impact or influence kind of the story of their afterlife? Do you know what I mean? So if they engage in certain patterns when they were alive, are they more likely to try to repeat those patterns when they passed away? Are they, if they had family, are they more likely to stick around to watch over the family? Like, how much of a correlation is there between your life and your, I guess, afterlife, or your life as a spirit?
The spirit, like spirits will okay, it depends too, because some spirits are, if they're family members, they're mostly just trying to keep them safe, right, and trying to protect them, and just to let them know that they're doing okay and they're safe, and there's no harm coming to them.
Do you think that, I think going back to Peter's, I think kind of more overall point, how much are you, because he says, you know, how does that happen? What are they talking about? How much is it you leading the conversation versus them leading the conversation? So do you find because in this scenario, right, it's kind of an interview.
Yeah.
So I have an idea of what I want to ask you, and you know, you're kind of cooperating and answering. Is it that with the spirit, or is it more with the spirit? They kind of talk whatever they want to talk about, and it's up to you to kind of figure out how to work within that.
No, it's basically when we start off the conversation, basically. Okay, we ask a question, right? But it's not. Sometimes we don't get the answers that we want. Sometimes they'll babble about something else, right? And then, but what we do is whatever they say, we respond to that answer, right?
So how much of it is they are asking you questions, and how much are you asking them questions?
Majority, it's us asking them questions.
And you think that has more to do with their spiritual presence? Like is it a lack of interest on their part, or is it more just the nature of investigations? And I mean, I guess it makes sense because you're approaching them, right? Yeah. They're not approaching you. So I suppose it makes sense that you'd be the one asking all the questions.
Yeah, that's correct. It's mostly coming from us, but like it also depends on how much energy they have to respond to that.
So what gives the spirit the energy to respond or to not respond?
Well, let's put it this way: spirits have their own spiritual mind, but they can respond to any question that we can send their way. But the energy they have to get is they could get the energy from us. They could get from our camera, from our batteries, our cameras, or our devices, right? To have enough energy to communicate with us.
So then over time, if you have a spirit that say has been haunting a location for, let's say an abandoned location for 20, 30, 40, 100 years, whatever it is, would they over time lose, kind of get less and less energy if they're not interacting with people or with devices or with the combination?
Not necessary. Not necessary. Because everything around us is full of energy, right? It's just how much energy there is around that area that they're in and that property that they're on.
So if it's, let's say it's kind of in a place that's abandoned and not near any power sources.
Yeah, it'd be a low energy site until someone steps on that property, right? That abandoned place, and they can pull energy from a human being.
All right. Peter asks, how do you respond with natural language or some magnetic signals or frequencies? You got my curiosity. No, you're not sounding negative, Peter. Before we answered that, Courtney, my wife, says that it's totally okay to send her video, paranormal. In the video, you can actually hear the entity spoken. Shoot me off a message. That'd be great to see. Thank you so much. So I think what Peter's asking is when you get so how much is communication natural language, so like what we're doing, versus how much of it is based on sounds versus, so would you have a situation where you're saying something like, knock once for knock once for yes, twice for no, or make this gadget or make this piece of equipment make a certain sound? Like I know when I was in Johnstown, they had different cameras and different things set up, and it was like, if there's a spirit here, make this piece of equipment light up, or they had these even cat toys where it's like if you roll it, they light up. So what was your experience there? Or how much of communication is natural language versus relying on pieces of equipment and sounds and frequencies and things of that nature?
Basically, with equipment, that's basically the only way we can understand what they're trying to say. Like basically, what it is, they're giving us words, and we have to. It's like a puzzle, so we have to try and get those words they say right and put it in the right order, so we understand what they're saying or what they're trying to say to us.
How careful do you have to be in that circumstance that you're not hearing what you want to hear, right? Because I've come across, I've seen paranormal investigations, not that I've taken part in them, but seen them on TV or even kind of observed from a distance, where it doesn't seem to me like anything's happening, but they're saying they're picking up signals or frequencies. Or how do you make sure that if you have to interpret something, you're not interpreting it you're not just automatically going to paranormal explanations without making sure you haven't ruled out any just quote unquote normal or
abnormal,
or like how do you make sure that you're not jumping right to paranormal and not excluding all the other natural possibilities?
Well, basically you can't, right? Basically, let's just say if a door slams, okay, what we try to do, we stop the investigation for that point, and we try and recreate the
door slamming.
And if we can't debunk it, right, then we still leave it floating as paranormal.
So how much time would you say you spend when you're in an investigation trying to debunk something versus investigating? Because I'm assuming you got to spend at least a little bit of time trying to debunk it first to make sure that what you're dealing with could be supernatural and not natural.
It depends on the situation. sometimes it could take 20 minutes just to try and figure out if what just happened was paranormal or not. Sometimes, like if it was like a door or a doll fell off a shelf, or a ball rolling, right? Like that sometimes things like that could take a little longer than others, but it just depends on what you're dealing with.
And at the start of an investigation, if you get approached by somebody, how much time will you spend, even maybe before the investigation started, trying to debunk the claim? So if I came to you and said, I have a ghost, or I believe there's a ghost because of A, B, and C, will you try to look at each of those claims and try to figure out if there's a natural explanation for them?
No, we usually will do it like during the processing of the investigation. Like we won't start debunking things like just at the beginning. We have to do it like while we're in it.
But so, like, if somebody were to say, for example, there's a ghost in my place because you use example, right? Because the door is always slamming.
Yeah.
Would you check the door to see if there could be a defect in the door, or maybe there's an air draft or some reason that the door might be slamming outside of supernatural?
Yeah. Well, we will do that during the investigation, right? Not before we start it.
And the other question I had, and again, Courtney, Peter, anybody else who's watching this, please jump in and let me know if you have any more questions in the chat. We love answering them, or Nicholas loves answering them.
Yeah.
How many investigations, even that you know of, like, is there a percent of investigations that you'll go into kind of completely blind, meaning there's never been any?
We always go in blind. Like we never go in there knowing what actually is the whole center process of it. Like we might get information from the owners, or they think this has been happening two times a day or whatever, right? That's the only information we'll get. But as of knowing the whole entire story to it, no.
I mean, when I say blind, I mean not blind is not the right word. Like, so in the case of the Windsor Masonic Temple, we had ghost stories, right? And so there was different reasons to believe there may be ghosts and something to check out. So we had that versus say a location where there's never been any stories. It just seems as though there may be something going on because of its age, or it just seems like a cool place to check out.
Yeah.
Would you ever go to a place where there hasn't been any stories, or you there's no reason to believe there are ghosts per se, but just out of curiosity based on something interesting about the house, or maybe, so like what percentage of investigations would you say start with actual stories or things to investigate versus it's just a matter of curiosity about the location and you think there may be potential there without having any stories to back it up?
Mostly I would say we would go with more of the stories first, right? Then there's no stories at all.
That was Nicholas. Don't open that. He just dropped his Coca-Cola. I have been keeping mine nice and safe. I would never drop my Coke.
That was too close.
That got pretty nervous there for a second. Courtney just asked, how many investigations have you maxed out? So how many investigations have you done altogether so far?
5.
And Windsor was the first. Windsor Masonic Temple was the first.
The temple was first. The Dominion House was second. The Walkerville Theater was third. One in Amherst.
Amherst or Amherstburg?
Amherstburg, sir.
I'd love to say, where is this? I'm down a little. Where's this?
Amherstburg was fourth, and there was one in London.
How many hours would you say a normal investigation is? Ours was about 8 hours for both of them, right? We did it 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Mhm.
and then about 10 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. So
Yeah, usually all of them are different. Like sometimes we could do it in 6 hours, sometimes 8. It just depends on the situation. If we're dealing with a demonic case, then that probably will take a little longer.
in terms of the size of, or not the size, yeah, well, the size of the buildings that you're dealing with, right? I'm assuming that will affect the time you spend, but also, so for our investigation, right, it was kind of a process where we'd investigate at the Masonic Temple, we'd investigate for about an hour, then we'd go upstairs and have snacks and food and then go back down. Like, would you say that's the kind of the standard practice? Maybe not the snacks or whatever, but the idea of like you investigate for an hour or so, then you go and you review what you found, then another hour, then review. Then
No. Usually we don't review it till we get back, till after the investigation. Once we're off the property and we're back home, right? Then we do the investigating on what we caught.
do you find? I mean, I feel like that would like I don't know if I could have done the paranormal investigation that we did if we just gone 8 hours straight through. I feel like you kind of need those breaks to.
Yeah, sometimes you need a break. Like you can't go and do a full length investigation without stopping. Sometimes, yeah, you do need a break, and sometimes you need to get your thoughts back in a correct order before you go back into it.
I also would think that you would really, really need coffee, right? Because I made sure that I got you coffee just to put that out there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Some investigations, yeah.
So going back to my earlier question, and by the way, guys, please feel free to. Oh, Nicholas, has anyone ever gotten injured during your trips on the haunted grounds?
Has anyone of any of our investigations? No.
That's pretty fun. And is that just because you're always thinking about safety?
Yeah.
And what does some of your safety precautions look like? I mean, I know that you talked to us before you did the investigation about being safe, but what would you say some of your safety precautions look like?
Well, one of them is like, it's not really precautions, it's just rules. It's just like don't we try not to provoke the spirits. We really want to just leave the spirits how they are when we came in, and when we leave, we want them to be the same. Like, we don't want them having a nice spirit, and then before we leave, that spirit becomes angry. And
what about going back to what we talked about, the actual physical building itself? I think in our case it was a little bit different, right? Because you'd met with me beforehand and you'd already been on a little bit of a walk. But would you do before an investigation during the day, let's say a walkthrough, especially with a building where it's older or abandoned, to note this part of the floor is messed up, or this is a tripping hazard, or they're exposed wires? How much time are you spending looking at the actual physical layout?
Well, we do it during the walkthroughs. We do it usually more in the daylight, so we know where everything is and where every step is, and which rooms are what, right? And then once we get into the investigation at night, then we already know where everything is.
Have you been able to come across do you ever get a chance to review, say, the architectural plans or designs?
No, we all the investigations I've done, we have not.
I mean, I will say for ours, at least I had them available.
Yeah.
I think you did review them with me.
Yeah, I did.
But I had them separate. Like, would you ever try to get those, you think, in future investigations? Because go to the city archives, for example, and see what you could find.
And yeah, if we really need to know more and to get deeper, we will have to. Yes.
In terms of, by the way, I'm just going to throw this out there before I go any further, because I did put it up above. Square and Compass Promotions, we do have a Patreon page, patreon.com/Square and Compass. If you guys want to support the channel and all of our work with Masonry and try and explore the ways in which Freemasonry is relevant to the communities in which it's located, join our Patreon. You can do it for free. So, but they do have different membership levels where we have different gifts and things available, including scale models of the Windsor Masonic Temple for up to $50 a month, but it's a really special scale model. And also make sure when you're joining us, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. All that stuff helps out big time. You'll notice the poll, we got 5 votes.
80,
Would you be interested in joining a paranormal team?
80%.
Looks 80. So 4 people said yes, 1 person said no. And we know the person who said no, Peter, because he was saying he'd be scared, which is, Peter sounds like the smartest person of any of us. So what was your thoughts like going back? I know it's been a while now.
Yeah.
When I first approached you about investigating the Windsor Masonic Temple, what were your thoughts about the building, about the investigation? You hadn't been in the building before that, correct?
That's right. I was not.
So what were your thoughts about that?
My thoughts to it is
Oh, sorry, I'm going to interrupt, but Michelle Broussard just jumped on.
Oh,
Hey, Michelle, how's it going? Oh, I got you grind your teeth on, is it?
that's your question, I think.
Yeah, it was good. Heritage Lodge was good. It was, so there was no paranormal anything found in, the heritage in our building at the Transportation Museum. I think probably because it was so new, but apparently they did discover some paranormal things in other buildings in the Heritage Lodge, or the Canadian Transportation Museum. But mostly they were just happy that they actually, that we actually opened the building for them, because that was the first time that our building was open for the paranormal investigations. I guess they've done it every year for the last several years as a fundraiser, but had never, our building was never opened until now. So they really appreciate that. We've actually had 2 events this year so far at Heritage Lodge. We were there for the flea market. You were there on the Sunday, and I was there on the Saturday. We had about 120 people over the 2 days. Then we did the paranormal investigations. And on October 30th, I'm going to go there and hand out candy for their trick or treat at Heritage Lodge. So it's going to be special. It's going to be a really fun time. Michelle Broussard, hello, boys and girls. Hello, Michelle. Thank you for joining us. It's much, much appreciated, as always, as is all that you do. Peter Kuzmov, Nicholas, have you come across other than human entities? So yeah, Peter, I think what we were talking about before, like you said demons, but outside of that, like ghosts were obviously once human, quote unquote, or maybe they still are human. I don't know how you define it. But again, the cryptids is sometimes what it's called, right? Like the Bigfoots, the supernatural, supernatural kind of vampires, but whatever, entities that aren't human.
Yeah.
Or were never human.
Yeah.
Have you come across any of those?
Well, like I said, I came across a demon. No, 2 demons actually. And that's about it.
And Michelle, it is an underutilized tool of masonry in our area. Speaking of Heritage Lodge, I agree. That's why I'm so looking forward to being back there on October 30th. It's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, I'm looking forward to be in there again. I think our DDGM may be able to join me. It depends, but it's going to be good. So yeah, we're looking forward to it very much. I think a lot of things right now in Freemasonry are underutilized, right? In terms of our buildings and the amount of use we get out of them. I wish we got more use out of them. So I do believe we can do a better job at utilizing some of these different areas. Even the Windsor Masonic Temple in some ways is underutilized, but it's definitely 10 times more utilized now than it ever was before. So credit to it for that, and credit to Martin and all the work he's putting in and all the work the temple board is putting in to make this a success and to make everything as utilized as we can. Courtney on the highway with paying close attention to all members of such. Thank you so much, Courtney. We appreciate that, but obviously we don't want you to be distracted either. So focus on your driving and focus on the trip. But we appreciate you being here while you can. Thank you so much. And yeah, I still hope that you enjoy your trip to Colorado. So going back to the question, because, you know, I come to you, I think it was me who made the first contact, right? And I say we want to do this paranormal investigation. You've never been in the Windsor Masonic Temple before. So what were your thoughts about the building and about performing the investigation?
I think I was more interested in the structure and of the property.
What do you mean by the structure?
Like the structure of the building, how it was built, and in the rooms that are in it. Like, cause I've never been in a temple like that before. So.
And what were your thoughts on your first time being in the building? Because you were in it first time before you actually did the investigation. So what were your thoughts that first time being in there?
I thought it was wild. I thought it was fantastic, like how the art, the person who made the blueprints for this building there, it was
Pennington, one of our a member of actually my lodge back in the day, passed away now, but he was the architect. He was actually a very prolific architect. Did a whole bunch of architectural stuff all over our area of Windsor Chatham. So so that was the first time. And then what are your recollections of the investigation, of either the first time or the second time?
Between the first and the second, different things happened. I believe the first time was a chair in the blue room, I believe. Started to light up on the meter, ghost meter.
Yeah, I remember that chair.
And then in the second one, we found a newspaper clipping in a crawl space.
I remember finding that as well. That was cool. But I remember also one of the doors between the second floor door really started to light up a little bit, you were saying.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the second floor landing, there was actually an orb that flew from the bulletin board, right, straight out and made a turn.
Did you how tired were you the next morning? Because I had to go to work. For the record, just for the record.
Yeah.
How tired were you that
I was
next day?
tired. I went to bed.
Well, here's I don't know if you can. Here's one of the pictures from the first investigation in
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah. Wow, 2018.
So it's been 6 years. Here it is. He looks. He doesn't look any different at all. Look at that. The Masonic Temple is a throwback to when artisans were appreciated and allowed to create. I was there as well. It was a late night. I don't remember, Michelle, if you were there for the first investigation or the second. I remember you were there for the second investigation.
Yeah, but I don't think he was on the investigation.
I mean, you might have passed by. I remember this.
I think he came. He just dropped by something, I believe.
Well, he was doing some meditation. I remember in the blue room with one of the psychics. It was a very, very fun, but very, very late. So apparently this one, second one, that's right. So apparently this one went from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And I remember the second one went from 10:30 to or 11 to 5:30. Because by 5:30 we were also exhausted. And one of the psychics, the bus was coming at 5:30, and she was like, "I'm pooped." So she had to go catch the bus.
Yeah.
Because the bus leaves right by the Masonic Temple. Thank you, Transit Windsor, for that. But she was like, it's 5:30.
Yeah, we called it quits.
We were all very tired.
Yeah.
We had, there's only so much you can do with coffee.
No.
Welcome everybody jumping in. We had a few more people joining in. Hit the like button, subscribe button if you could. That helps us out a lot. Check out our Patreon, which I put a link to up there, excuse me. And yeah, we're talking here about Freemasonry and the paranormal. It's not just us. Johnstown Masonic Center in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, just had Bump in the Night Society perform a paranormal investigation as part of their Supernatural Expo, and they're actually doing a documentary about it, which will be really, really special. Sorry about that. I'm going to see if I can get more light on you. There we go. You're kind of shrouded in darkness over there. We talked about your thoughts about the first one in particular, but why did you decide to come back and do a second investigation, and what made you interested in doing a second investigation?
Sometimes I usually like to go sometimes to do a second, come back to that same area again, just to see if anything has changed, if the energy has changed inside the building. That's basically all.
Have you ever done in any other locations, ever done a second investigation or gone back for a second investigation?
No, just the Masonic Temple.
Would you be interested in, if for example, Dominion House or Walkerville were to contact you, would you be interested in going back for a second investigation?
Yeah.
And you're going to be joining us, I believe, on November 6th in the luncheon.
Yeah.
Have you thought, because I remember I said, if you want to say a few words, have you thought about anything you're going to talk about?
Basically, I would, if anyone has any questions about the paranormal or they're just curious about it, right? I would be there just to answer their questions.
What is your favorite part about being a paranormal investigator?
Helping people.
Okay.
I like to help people with their problems, the situation of dealing with the paranormal, and it gives me a good feeling inside that could help people.
To what extent are you helping people, like living people, versus to what extent are you trying to potentially help the spirits or the
both? Basically the clients want to know answers about why they're in their building or why they're in their house or apartment or whatever, and the other, we try to help the spirits to understand where has happened to them, and we have a choice. They have a choice to leave the place or stay.
Michelle Broussard, you should go back, or you should come back and bring someone who can channel spirits, and some tangible info can be gained. See if the spirit like the renovations. See if the spirits like. Hopefully, they like the renovations we've done. But yeah, that'd be interesting to see. Although we did have a psychic, right? On both, it was the same psychic on both investigations in Windsor.
Yeah,
Windsor Masonic Temple. But that would be fun to bring back. What do you think about kind of the growth of Zach Bagans, like these paranormal investigative television shows?
Yeah.
And what do you also think about some locations maybe trying to use those TV shows as a way for, to get more tourists interested or more people interested in the building, for revenue streams, things like that?
Yeah. Well, okay, let's go with like the TV shows. Some of these TV shows you really have to be careful in what they do, because sometimes it's
Michelle just saying it got a boost from movies. I assume he's talking about Paranormal Investigations, which did get a boost from movies, but also it got a boost from, like, Freemasonry got a boost from movies as well, right? Like The Lost Symbol, National Treasure. A lot of these TV shows, or a lot of TV shows and movies that feature Freemasonry.
Dan Brown wrote that.
Yeah. Freemasonry got a boost from those as well, as did Paranormal Investigations.
Yeah.
So good point, Michelle.
Yeah. Oh man, Michelle, if you want, if we have another one, hopefully at the temple, I would be glad to you joined us for that investigation.
Well, they do have a new guy running the ballroom, Martin Ouellette, a really cool dude.
Mm-hmm.
He may be willing to do something where maybe you're selling tickets to take part in a paranormal investigation that you run. But again, that goes back to this idea of like you using paranormal investigations as a way to get publicity or financial gain or anything to that extent.
No. Well, that's a good question, Karen. But like I think what I told you before is that we don't do it to gain fame out of it or to get a TV show out of it. No, we do it because we want to, and we just want to help people, to help their situation and get answers for them. And that's about it. I'm interested in it. Anyone who's diving in they want to do it for another reason, like because they want to be on television and they're going to get paid from a company. That's I'm going to say that's up to them. But for me, that would be out of the question for me, because that's for paranormal investigation. I'm not looking for money.
What about like, to what extent though is, and this goes again to this idea of like the long-term sustainability of any of these type of things, right? Like that balance of you're a professional, you want to do a professional job, but to do that, right, you need to earn a living.
Yeah.
So where does the balance come between trying to earn a living from this thing that you love versus, I mean, I know you know, as great kindness, you didn't charge Masonic Temple for investigations, though we did, give you an honorarium out of appreciation. But like, where do you find that balance? Because it's something with Freemasonry as well. It's like you love Freemasonry, you want to see it grow, but how hard is it to see it grow, to do a professional job if it's kind of completely voluntary?
Yeah, well, it's voluntary because basically paranormal investigations are, and I've said this before, that it's a nonprofit organization. So,
or it's a nonprofit endeavor anyways.
Yeah. but we if we wanted to get some money out of it, right?
Or even money for equipment, money
If for equipment, things like that, we either get donations from a client. If it's up to them, we don't force them. But sometimes if we have like, if I'm thinking of doing a merch store, so I could get money from the merch, like that's one way. But anything like to charging people for it, no.
Well, you got the shirt, which is a shirt that is given to all of the paranormal investigators right on your team.
Yeah.
Except for me.
Yeah, actually,
I didn't get a shirt.
Our shirts are going to be changing now. They're not going to be polo shirts. They're going to just be normal T-shirts now. So the cost of polo shirts
This way a little bit, kind of off center.
To T-shirts.
I'll bring your chair.
T-shirts are more cheaper.
But again, I did not get a T-shirt.
You'll get a T-shirt.
No, you said that.
Yeah.
You've been saying that. But I think, I do think that kind of goes into not a really paranormal topic, but I think it relates to Freemasonry, relates to all of this type of stuff, right? Which is how do you pursue the thing you love and also, try to earn a living at it or try to make it a profession?
Well, usually, like most paranormal investigators, not most, all of them, but some of them have jobs, right? Day jobs, and my day job is I'm an author. And at night, I'm a paranormal investigator.
Yeah, you wrote a few different books. I don't have them here. I got them at the Masonic Temple. But what's the most recent book that you've written?
I'm working on a second edition for my first novel.
Night of the Zombies, right?
Or Resurrection of the Zombies.
There you go. Yeah. I've read it. Oh my God. I know you signed a copy for me, but it's been, how many years has it been since I've read that book? I should read it again. I think I got it from you before the pandemic for sure.
That book is about 5 years old, maybe.
And so what's the second edition going to be? Well, tell us about what's that first book about, and then what's the second edition? Is it like a sequel?
No,
the
second edition to Resurrection of the Zombies is I added some stuff to it, to the book that wasn't in the original. So that's
Stephen King did that with like books like The Stand, which is one of my favorite books. He wrote it out, he published The Stand originally, but because at that time he wasn't as famous as he became, they could only afford to print out like a book of so many pages.
Yeah.
But once he got famous enough to justify the added cost, he went back and published a second edition, which had significantly more pages to it. It was already a super long book. It was a really good book as well, though. So the second edition was a lot of fun. So there's that old expression, right? I'm not like this because I'm in Motley Crue. I'm in Motley Crue because I'm like this. To what extent your love of zombies and horror movies and supernatural, to what extent do you think that influenced you to become a supernatural investigator? Or
no?
So do you know supernatural investigators that aren't interested in that type of stuff? Because it seems to me that all the supernatural investigators, it seems to me that all the supernatural investigators I've known or met do, like me, love horror movies and scary movies and the supernatural.
Well, the guy who played Jason.
There's been a bunch of them. You got to be more specific than that.
Yeah, do you know the names of them?
Oh God, C.J. Graham, Ken Kersinger.
There's one with a last name with.
Oh, this is gonna drive people in the chat. Help me out here. Here, let me see. I'm gonna go to Google because now this is bugging me. I'm gonna actually share this on the screen because this is important. We actually have the movies right over behind us. I've actually I met the most famous one. Actors who played Jason. Kane Hodder was the most famous. Hold on,
Kane Hodder is actually a paranormal investigator now.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. I've got a picture with him.
He does all of the California area.
I should have Kane Hodder is known as like the most famous
most
one.
recent one.
No, he's not the most recent one because Ken Kersinger played him in Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
And then there was Derek Mears. I think he played it in the 2009 remake, if I recall correctly. Ari Lehman was the first Jason in the original.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Graham was, I forget which Friday the 13th he was.
Mm-hmm. But Kane is the one that is a paranormal investigator in the California.
So CJ Graham, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. There you go. That's my favorite Friday the 13th. The other one I really love, though, is Part 3, which, let's go to Wikipedia for a second. If I recall correctly, it was Ted White or something, Friday the 13th, Part 3. Let's see if I recall correctly.
That was the 3D one.
It's a great one. Very underappreciated. Oh, no, it was Brooker. Okay, it was...
Oh, 82.
Richard Brooker.
Yeah, that was released in 82.
He was British as well. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, but so Kane is a paranormal investigator for the California area.
I'm going to look this up.
Or one of.
I'm checking this out. Kane Hodder is an American actor, stuntman, and author.
I don't know if they will put it in there.
Avid poker player.
No, I guess they didn't put it in there.
All right, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Still, well, maybe it's on. I'm just kind of idly curious now. Kane Hodder, paranormal investigator. Oh, it does pop up. So on the Google. Okay.
Yeah, he did an investigation with another group. That was really good. I saw the YouTube video on it.
Kane Hodder wants to do a paranormal investigation. Kane Hodder wants to do a paranormal investigation with Kane. Now is your chance. Kane will be doing a public ghost hunt at the Dorchester Jail in Canada. Next tickets are on sale now with regular tickets to follow soon. Come along for the adventure. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go see Kane's Facebook for a second. It doesn't show anything here, but that's very cool. Interesting note, but as we know, I love professional wrestling. The most recent, I guess not the most recent, the former Michael Myers from the Rob Zombie movies, which were great movies, by the way, very underrated and very underappreciated. I'm just putting it out there. They are great. Was a professional wrestler. Tyler Maine was the name. He was a professional wrestler in WCW. And he was a really cool dude. I got to meet him very briefly, but he was awesome. By the way, if you're just joining us, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Liking and subscribing, and share this as well if you can. That'd be great also. take a moment to answer our poll question. Would you be interested in joining a paranormal investigative team or taking part in a paranormal investigation? Take a few minutes to say yay or nay. That'd be awesome. Also, any questions you have, jump in the chat. Anything you want to talk about. We're here to talk about Freemasonry and the paranormal. Nicholas has done a couple of paranormal investigations. Well, he's done 5, but he's done 2 involving Masonic temples, our Masonic temple.
And planning would like to do a 3rd.
We'll see one day, hopefully. But keep on hitting that like button and the hearts and reactions and all that good stuff, and share this with others. What do you think? And I'm going to search for something. What do you think about the idea of objects having themselves like power and symbols having power? And is it possible for a spirit to attach itself to a symbol or an object?
Oh, yeah.
But how does that work with the symbol? Because a symbol, like you can share a symbol online, right? You can share. So if a spirit is attached to a certain symbol, but it gets shared through social media or pictures, or let's say it becomes mass produced, for example, how does that affect?
Well,
like how would that affect? Is the spirit attached to the original? Is it attached to?
it doesn't actually have to be an original to be attached, to attach itself to that item. Like majority, they are attached to original. Like they're actually like, could be like a grandmother or somebody who loved like a dresser or a mirror or a doll or whatever, right? Sometimes they'll attach themselves to that doll or that mirror or dresser. So you can't just look at the item and say, well, that could be that's haunted, or it could be haunted. Right?
But what about in terms of like if it's not a physical object per se, but it's a like it's not a physical object, but it's like a symbol type of thing. Like let's say the Masonic square and compasses, for example, right, which you can see everywhere. Is it possible for a spirit to be attached to that specific symbol, or?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then, so what happens in terms of though if it were to be shared?
Well, if it was given to somebody else, then they would have it. The new person would have be stuck with it.
I really have always liked the idea of, but that's like the actual physical object. So let's say there's a spirit that's really attached to this Masonic square and compasses, right?
Yeah.
And that symbol gets painted on a whole bunch of different buildings.
Yeah.
Will the spirit kind of be attracted to those buildings with the symbol, or will it stay?
Just stay with the one.
With the one that it's kind of closest to.
Yeah. But like if you're dealing with like the Raggedy Ann, like Annabelle, right? That's a whole different story, because like if someone gets it and then they get rid of it and then they give it to somebody else, then that new person will have that problem, and it will just keep going on and on and on, and it won't stop.
Michelle Broussard is asking, do I look 60? You look 33 years old, sir. Maybe 34. I'm going to try to share this screen. I find the sharing of the screen doesn't always work, so it might not work this time. Let's see.
There's been people too, like just even like a coin, right? If someone's really attached to it, they will attach to their spirit will attach to that coin.
So, but it's not the symbol itself, it's the actual physical object.
Yeah.
Because I think the idea of symbols, like I'm going to share, so it seems to be working, at least on this screen. I find for some reason my sharing the screen doesn't always work, but give me a second. Let me know what you think of this. All Right. So I always think of this in terms of Freemasonry, because I think it applies. I'm going to try to turn the sound on and off because I don't want to get stuck with copyright. Oh, Michelle, I'm chatting on phone, sent wrong message here. No worries. You did mention above, though, I like this statement you said above about integrated in our culture. I agree. Well, I think the hope is Freemasonry, and Freemasonry needs to be integrated in the culture. I think that's the most important thing. I think that's where you get the success in almost any situation, is if you can integrate the thing into the culture the same way they did with professional wrestling, the same way they did with sports, the same way they've done with some movies like Marvel, whatever it is, Star Wars. That's where you get the success and the growth. Because I think another way to say the phrase integrated in our culture is to say relevant. And that I think is a really important thing. All right, but here's this thing about symbols, which I really like, and we'll see if...
Oh, that's a good movie.
Practical Magic's a great movie.
Yeah.
Also,
I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Also on Tubi, by the way, just throwing it out there. It's also
on Tubi?
Yeah.
Oh, I might watch it tonight.
All right. Let's
That was a real good movie.
hit play. Let's see if this works. So I always like that section of the movie and the idea of symbols having power. And I think that can be applicable perhaps to Freemasonry and some of our symbols and the way some of them have power. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's but it like I said before, it depends on the item, right? Like if it was a sword.
What makes an item kind of have that type of power? Do you think it's all connected to
a person?
But what is it? The emotional attachment the person has to the power?
Yes.
Or the emotional attachment the person has to the object?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's to the object. Like if one of your guys is attached to a sword, right? And when he dies, right? He wants to be with that sword. He connects himself to that sword.
Is it possible for it to be the opposite? Not the opposite, but is it possible for somebody to be connected to for a spirit to develop a connection to an object after they've passed away? So if somebody passes away, but they're in a certain location and an object is brought into that location, is it possible for them to attach themselves to it after they pass away?
Yeah.
What would cause that, in your opinion?
My opinion, what causes that is it's of that person's feeling, the person's thoughts.
Their thoughts in
the item, or the specific item that they really like.
So what would you say is, and we talked about this before, I already asked you the thing you like the most about being a paranormal investigator. What's the other side of it? What are the things that the biggest challenges you face?
Other challenges would be like just getting answers from spirits and trying to help them to understand where their barrier lines are. And
what's a barrier line?
Barrier line is where it's where how far they could go in that specific building, right? Like say a house, right? Like they could stay as long as they don't disrupt the living, right? Their everyday doings or chores or whatever, right?
So it's not like a physical line. It's more like behavioral lines.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's probably true for people too, is right? We all kind of have to.
Yeah.
We all kind of have to exist within certain barrier lines with each other in terms of how we act towards each other. Do you find that most spirits are understanding of barrier lines?
Some of them are, some of them they don't, and some of them they just don't understand it. And sometimes we have to explain it to them, right?
Do you think that that's based on malicious intent on the part of the spirits, or is it just based on not understanding kind of even their actions?
Probably not. Probably mostly it's not understanding. Like sometimes they will get malicious if they lived in a house and someone else moves in and the spirit doesn't want them in the house, right? They could get malicious if they wanted to.
Do you think, I mean, that's interesting. That's the kind of, to what extent is that based on the spirit's general kind of deportment or their attitude? Like if you were cranky in life, are you going to be cranky in the afterlife?
Yeah. If you're violent when you're living and you die, it follows you. It doesn't change anything.
Why do you think that would be? Because I feel like,
I
feel like it'd be, going from physical to metaphysical, probably be a pretty big change. You would think that there would be maybe some changes in personality as well that would come with that.
No. Like if you're a miserable person when you're living and then you die, you're just gonna keep on being a miserable person through your spirit life.
Well, I mean, why be miserable in eternity? Although that brings up the ultimate question, which I don't think anybody has any answers to, but we're kind of talking around it. We, Freemasonry, we perform funeral services for people, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
When you let's say, are working with the spirit or investigating, and you find a spirit and the spirit is able to leave, quote unquote, where does that spirit go?
It goes back to the spirit world.
And where is the spirit world? What is the spirit world?
It's an alternate dimension than us, than ours. So theirs is different. Just think about the movie Ghostbusters, right? They're all these, after the Ghostbusters get the spirits, they put them in a containment unit, and that's like their spirit world. It's something like that, but it's a lot larger.
Well, I mean, so if the spirit world contains all the spirits, there's been like 100 billion, I think, people in this world.
Yeah.
So
or more.
Well, I mean, if we're starting from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
We're starting from the beginning of people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's not just people too. You got to think about animals too, right? Animals are cramped into that situation there too. So.
Have you ever come across the spirit of an animal?
Yeah, my own cat.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Are you able to communicate with the spirit of animals in kind of the same way you would with a human? I'm assuming not. Or
no.
Are you able to kind of work with them somehow to, like, what would that be be like in terms of, I mean, you can't work with a cat that's alive, let alone a cat that's passed away.
Well,
but
yeah, any animal that passes away, they don't understand that part of the process. So basically they just go into the light, and then they go into the heavens, right? And they just have their own party, let's just say.
There's been a few there's been a few movies and TV shows, we talked about this before, integration in the culture, which I always define as relevance, and the importance of that for Freemasonry, but also your neck of the wood. Just out of curiosity, do you have any favorite television shows that deal with kind of ghosts and ghost investigations?
Ghost Whisperer.
Okay, I was going to say, that was with the one with Jennifer Love Hewitt, right?
Yeah, that was a great movie. Good TV show.
How many seasons did that go on for, just out of curiosity?
5. It was only 5.
It was only 5?
Yeah. Big.
Okay, so Ghost Whisperers 1. Any other ones?
No, that's the.
Wow, it was on in 2005, so that's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I think that's the only one with spirit that deals with spirits.
I would say I should go back and watch this. I'd also say maybe Good Witch, kind of.
Good Witch, I love that one. That's a fantastic show. There was, I believe 7 seasons in that.
Yeah, well, Good Witch, there was, I think, 5 or 6 seasons, but there's also all the movies and stuff. There's Good Witch, there's Charmed, which I really like.
Charmed, yeah. Sabrina, Teenage Witch.
Well, Sabrina, but that wasn't like, I never watched that show.
That was a for teenagers.
I used to, so my go-to shows back in the day.
Yeah.
Move your chair a little over this way. My go-to shows back in the day were Buffy and Angel.
Yeah.
Now it's gone on to be Charmed and Good Witch.
Yeah.
And Practical Magic. But in terms of like ghost shows, yeah, I do think I would say Ghost Whisperer is pretty great.
Yeah, that was a good TV show. I enjoyed watching those. Actually, I'm planning to get the box set of on DVD of Ghost Whisperer.
And then you, like me, also really like the Hallmark Christmas movies too.
Yeah.
Just on a side note.
Yeah.
Completely unrelated to anything.
I was watching a couple of them last night.
What's your favorite one of those?
That one I can't really say because I liked all of them. Like all of them were my best. If I could give you a few of them. There's one called The Cure, Evergreen.
I love Christmas in Evergreen.
Yeah.
Peter jumping on. Yeah. Nicholas, how those investigations influenced, if not changed, your personal perspective on life and afterlife, and basically our place in the universe?
That's a good question. Well, what changes in my personal life is basically attitude. Because when you realize when you're doing paranormal investigation, it's you have to have a lot of respect, and actually, you know what? I think that's the key word, respect for others, because you have to, when you go into doing an investigation, you have to have a respect to the spirits. And the spirit, and if you want that respect back, then you have to be respectful to them. it's basically a two-way street. Like when you're dealing with like two living people, right? You have to have the respect to that person if you wanted the respect back. So yeah.
I mean, how important do you think respect is just in so would you say, based on that answer, like your work with paranormal investigations have made you just a more respectful person overall?
Yeah.
Like
you have more respect of the spirit world and the world that you're living in, and sometimes it gets you thinking.
What type of stuff?
Comparing to what kind of world we're living in right now, and comparing your personal feeling to it, right?
You mean the type of world that you would like want to live in, or
yeah,
and trying to make it more of that way? Because that's kind of how I feel about Freemasonry, right? Is that the world is kind of what it is, but I want it to be better, and I hope through Freemasonry.
Well, everybody wants this world to be a lot better than what it's been planned, right? Like you got crime, you got stabbings, you got drug people, you got this and you got that, and you got war. Like no one doesn't want that. Like, but we have no control over it. But like, if we could, basically, I was always taught if you could help at least one person, then you did something good in your life.
I think that's fair. I think that's a pretty fair way to look at it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and in your case, right, it's help one person kind of living or otherwise.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's living or deceased or whatever. Like you could still help them, like no matter what.
And I mean, you did say right before that, kind of your favorite thing about this was getting the chance to help people.
Yeah. That's correct.
So this kind of ties into that idea. So Peter, you're welcome. Yeah. Courtney,
you're welcome.
No, my pleasure to have Nicholas present. I always love hanging out with Nicholas. So
well, if you come to Canada, maybe you could get me in person.
It's just a hop, skip, and a jump. It's just two things away. But going back to that idea of respect, I think that's kind of the thing with Freemasonry too, right? Yeah. It's this idea of like, so again, trying to create a more, trying to create a better world in different ways, but a more respectful world.
Let's go back to Zach. Okay.
Oh, Zach Baggins.
Okay, Zach, when he does his investigations, like he's doing this all wrong. Okay, he goes in there and he doesn't care. He goes in there and provokes them. That is not the way to do it the right way. That's up to him. If he wants to provoke him and get himself in a lot of trouble, that's fine. But like investigations, you if you don't have that respect in just accepting the spirit for what it is, okay, then you're gonna get something back that you wish you never imagined you wanted in the first place. So, like, meaning if you provoke a spirit and he gets like really upset, well, that's gonna be that person's fault.
I mean, that's probably true of life, and it's probably good advice for life, right? You don't want to go around provoking people or things or a combination of both, because you're probably not going to things are not going to end up well.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're not going to, you provoke a question that you want a good answer to it. Sometimes you won't get it. Either they'll go silent on you, or they will come in full force. And if they come in spirits come in full force, then and after it happens, you're gonna walk out of there regretting, like, I should have done that. I should have not done that. But like Zach thinks he could handle anything that comes his way. Well, you know what? Just if Zach, if you're out there, right, I would stop and think what you're doing, because you've lost a lot of respect from some spirits, and I could tell just by how it ends up, right? So yeah.
Well, I mean, he must be doing something right. He certainly is. I see him all the time on the TV. Like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, I don't really watch a lot of those shows, but at least I hear about him all the time. He's
Yeah.
got to be at this point.
And I'm going to say, Zach, stop being a big shot too. Okay, like just because you could do what you do does not mean it's right. So if you're out there, take that advice.
There you go. But I think that goes kind of to what we were talking about earlier too, right? The idea of like monetizing or trying to go with the paranormal and turn it into some type of kind of professional endeavor, or just a big endeavor, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, because that seems to be kind of what Zach Baggins is trying to do in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
He's trying to grow.
But it's just the way how he's trying to grow his ego, right? His ego is, he thinks he could bring his ego up high and higher, higher and higher, but it doesn't work that way. And if he thinks I'm wrong, well, that's fine. That's his opinion. But my opinion to him is like, you got to stop provoking spirits. You gotta start having a little respect. Now, the way you have respect is like, say, if I ask the ghost, like, light up the room pod, right? And it does, right? What we do is we say, thank you for doing that. Okay, because it's tough for them. It's tough for them to collect that energy just to go.
Why is it tough?
Because it's tough for them to collect the energy to do one little thing. It could be the simplest little thing, and it takes a lot of energy for them to do it.
But why does it take like them the energy? Because why something that would be easy for us, right, is so difficult for them? Is it just they're incorporeal? Like what are some of the challenges that, not just them, but what are some of the challenges that anybody would face being
A spirit?
Yeah.
Well, the challenge is that they can't do what we can do. Like we could open the door and walk out to go grocery shopping. They can't do that. They can open doors, but to open a door, they have to suck in a lot of energy just to grab the thing and open it. Like people don't understand that. And you have to understand, like, just because they were human like us, or majority of them were human like us, right? They should be able to do it. But no, it's not. It's different when you're solid like we are to become a spirit.
And again, we talked before, like the energy they kind of derive from different sources in the environment. But do you think that how do I put it? So you ask them to do something, whatever it is, and they do, they're able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you said, that takes the energy because they're not in physical form.
Mm-hmm.
Are there going to be times potentially, even when nobody's around, based on, about to sneeze and I didn't, based on cycles, seasons, anything like that, where you find that maybe the spirits will naturally have more energy or less energy?
Yeah.
Or like times when you may try to plan out your investigations to coincide with maybe a certain season or time of the year?
Not really. It's like, if let's say if there was a huge thunderstorm outside. Well, geez, think what a bolt of lightning. How much energy there is in that one bolt of lightning, right? They grab the energy from that, right? And if they could suck up a barrier with that energy, geez, they could grab a table and probably slide it across the floor, right? So
would you be more inclined to perform an investigation when there is like a thunderstorm or when there is a high energy event potentially, or would you be more inclined to do so when there's not, when the spirits might have less energy out of, might be safer in those circumstances?
Oh, it really doesn't matter when you do it. It doesn't matter if there's a thunderstorm or not, right? Or rain or whatever. There's always some kind of source of energy, like when you're doing an investigation, from anything that's powered, right? Like battery powered, right? That's why sometimes they get the energy from a battery, right? And then your camera goes dead. Well, because that's them removing the energy from the battery so they can manifest.
Oh, Courtney in Lubbock, Texas, food stop. Enjoy the food. I hope it's good. We talked about yesterday about the great food you got in your neck of the woods. So I hope Lubbock, Texas. I'm sure Lubbock. I never know how to pronounce that.
Lubbock.
I think it's Lubbock.
No, Lubbock.
Lubbock, Texas. All right. I hope you guys have some great food.
Also, when you're in Lubbock, Texas, go to the cemetery and see Buddy Holly, his grave.
Okay, but I mean, in fairness, he is going to Denver or Colorado, anyways. But if you get the chance, go check that out. I did not know that that's where his grave is.
No, well, that's where he was born, in Lubbock, Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
And people have done spirit boxes at his grave and contacted Buddy Holly.
I think there's been a few different spirit boxes. Like, I think they've done it at Elvis's grave, right?
They've done it with Elvis. They've done it with Buddy Holly. They've done it with Richie Valens. They've done it with Paul Walker. They've done it with Matthew Perry, Olivia Newton-John, right?
What would you say is the number one thing people get wrong about paranormal investigations?
Well, what they get wrong is some people think that you go and do an investigation and you're going to get the answer you want. Okay. Sometimes you can go into an investigation and get nothing at all. Right. Sometimes you can, sometimes you get a lot, sometimes you get something in between, but it's just the way how you go about it in doing an investigation.
I think that's a really important point to keep in mind too, though, right? Like, you're not always going to get the answer that you want, or even any answers at all.
And
right?
it's not just because you're doing it on a wrong time or wrong day. It's not that. It's sometimes spirits don't want to have a conversation with you. And if they don't want to have a conversation with you, they're just going to go to somewhere else in that building or house and just keep quiet.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, that's like human beings too, right? We don't always want to have a conversation with people.
Well, yeah. Like if you don't want to talk to your mother or father, or you just go and lock yourself in your room or go for a walk. But
we're going to, because I have to go to the washroom like crazy.
Oh, good. Now you're telling folks that.
So just so you guys know, so we're going to take a quick break. Actually, pass me that the stuffed animal there. I got this way back in the day. I forget how long ago it was.
Here's your new host for the yeah.
You're now we can see its backside. It's butt. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back in 5 minutes because I got to go to the washroom like crazy. The screen's gonna stay on, obviously. I'm just gonna mute it because I go to the washroom, grab some water, and then I think for the back half of this podcast, maybe what we'll do is a live stream. We'll talk about our favorite scary movies and maybe even rank the list.
Yeah.
But that doesn't stop people. Please jump in the chat. Let me know any questions you have as it relates to the paranormal and, of course, Freemasonry as well. If you are part of a Masonic temple or lodge and maybe you think it's haunted or you have ghost stories about it, please let me know or let us know in the chat. If you ever been part of a paranormal investigation, let us know.
Yeah.
Oh, we had another vote, actually.
Oh. For what?
6 votes. Would you be interested in joining a paranormal team? 6 votes. 83% yes, 17% no. So that must mean 5 people said yes.
Wow.
They'd want to be part of a paranormal investigative team.
Good.
And 1 person said no.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, at the end of this, Nicholas will leave his contact info.
Yeah.
And we'll check it out. This is, here we go. Hold on just 1 second. This is your new host. If you guys can think of a name for him. Oh, actually, hold on just 1 second.
And it can't be Rudolph because it doesn't have a red nose.
Before we do that, it looks like we just got somebody else joining us. Dark to Light. Good afternoon, Rockton Lodge. Oh, just retracted, but I saw it a second ago. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us and being here. Dark to Light 420. Let us know if
you have any questions about Ouija boards
or about the paranormal, but also Freemasonry. If your lodge maybe is haunted, if you have any cool ghost stories about your lodge, we would love to hear them very much.
And I could give you some advice.
Like I said, what we're going to do though is take 5 minutes, but please stick around. We're going to talk about our favorite scary movies, but also Dark to Light. We'd love to learn more about you and your Masonic experiences. So let's see. Hold on just 1 second. This is your new host for a couple minutes. We'll be right back. All right, we muted it, but don't forget the screen is still on.
Yeah.
So don't. I can go to the washroom. So don't scratch your nuts in the next 5 minutes. Make sure you take this in here so we can watch the chat.
Watch the chat. I haven't looked at this book yet. How close to her?
I'm not sure if we're muted right now or not. Let me see.
Oh, we'll find it. Everybody, yeah.
Are we?
I don't know.
All right. Well, nonetheless, we're back.
Oh, he's back.
Well, actually, we got to get rid of this guy. All right.
I gotta go watch something.
Oh, now we lost our co-host.
You'll be back.
Thank you, Peter, for sending the message that I guess we aren't muted. I'm wondering if it's because this sound, is this thing not hooked up correctly? Let's see. If I go like this versus like this. I think I got to reset up this sound through my actual microphone. Although, how's the sound, Peter? Does it sound good to you? Does it sound a little bit? Let me know, guys, how the sound is on your end. Yeah, it sounds good. All right. As long as it sounds good, I'm not sure why the. Oh, hold on one second. I'm going to try this. Bluetooth microphone.
By the way, you got one of my favorite tunas.
All right, hold on just one sec. Let's see if this. And stuff is falling. All right, let me know. Does this sound better, Peter? What do you think? Oh, so you're switching between. Yes, I am. So now I'm on the mic. What do you think? Does the mic sound better, or do you think the system sounds better, or do they both sound about the same?
You're muted.
No, we should be good. I think we're not muted anymore. So mic sounds better. All right. Well, then we're going to stick with the. Should be good. I think we're not muted anymore. So mic sounds better. All right. Then we're going to stick with the mic.
Mikey.
But yeah, actually, and Peter, do you mind if I share some of your thoughts that you sent me this morning about it was this morning, right? Yeah, about Westworld versus the you are never muted. Yeah, I know. See, we're not the best at these microphones yet. About Westworld and Westworld versus the Matrix and some of the thoughts you had about that. Yeah, I only had a chance to review it quickly, but I liked it. I thought it was really, really cool. So let's see. I like how you said it was just a morning fun exercise. And I mean, all the stuff you wrote about it was absolutely, you wrote a lot for just a morning exercise. It's very impressive. All right. Symbols of Awakening and the Inner Search. It was provoked from yesterday's stream. Well, I'm glad, right? That's kind of one of the hopes that we have is that this kind of gets provoked from the screen, from this yesterday's stream. That's what we want. We want to have conversations that kind of provoke different thoughts and different ideas amongst people. So if we get started with, let's see. Here it is. So the Matrix. This is from Peter Kuzmov. I don't want to take any credit for it. Let's see. The Matrix. Neo's choice of the red pill is symbolic of the EA's journey from ignorance to awareness. By choosing to look within and question his reality, Neo awakens to the Matrix's illusions. The mirror he touches after taking the red pill, a symbol of self-reflection, marks his first confrontation with the deeper truth. Mirrors in Freemasonry also serve as symbols for self-reflection, encouraging initiates to see beyond outward appearances and explore their inner nature. Westworld, one of my favorite TV shows. In Westworld, the maze symbol is central to the host's journey of self-discovery. It represents the inward path, as Dolores and Maeve experience memories and flashes of past lives, pushing them toward the realization that their reality is controlled. The maze, like the Freemasons' journey from darkness to light, guides them to look within and understand that their identity and autonomy are hidden beneath layers of programming. This parallels the EA's journey, the EA's lesson of turning inward to seek the light of knowledge and transcend the ignorance imposed by external controls. Symbols of structure and balance. The fellow character degree uses symbols to represent balance and duality, but we can name at least two more symbols like that. So in The Matrix Reloaded, Neo's encounter with the Oracle and the Architect symbolize his entry into a middle chamber of knowledge. as he comes to understand the dualities of freedom and control. This revelation forces Neo to reflect on his own choices, balancing external actions with internal purpose. Westworld. In Westworld, the doors to knowledge open for the host as they begin to seek the full scope of the park system, encountering symbolic doors in their path to inner freedom. Maeve's journey up the levels of the Mesa building to access her programming parallels the FC's climbing the ladder toward the middle chamber. And then there's symbols of death, rebirth, and unity with the higher self. Neo's final journey mirrors symbolic death. His act of self-sacrifice to save humanity and machines embodies the lessons of the sprig of acacia. So I think my question there, Peter, is well, first of all, just out of curiosity, as a side note, what is your favorite of the Matrix movies? Because there's been 4 of them, right? Plus there was all those like short films, I think, and animated films. But let me know in the chat if you've got a favorite and what that favorite might be. What about you? Do you have a favorite of the Matrix movies?
No, didn't like them.
Didn't like any of them?
No.
Even the first one?
No.
I thought the first one was really, really good. Come on over this way a little bit. We're kind of... All right. Well, I don't know, Peter, if you heard that, but let me know what you think of that. But yeah, thank you for sharing it. I may even try to do maybe a written Medium article with you where we can review it together and see what maybe one of our Medium stories. We've got Medium stories here. Let me see if I can just leave a link. I know you've already checked out the I Am in a Dream one, but I'll leave another one. Once again, it would be great if you could jump on and follow us on Medium as well as everywhere else. Here, I'll leave a link to the most recent one we've done.
The cathedral.
That was the Detroit Masonic Temple.
That's the largest one, right?
That is the largest one in the world. Yeah, absolutely. And let me know, Peter, what is tea with Mephistos metaphor? I'm not a big fan of The Matrix, actually, but the first was the one that got me to watch the rest. So it has its place in history already. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think it would have its place in history, right? Like, it's one of those movies that even if it's not your favorite, it kind of is pretty responsible for a lot of movies that came after it as well as before it. So,
well, there's a new
or
one.
as well as it drew on movies that came before it, but it created a new genre for a bunch of movies that came after it. So it has a pretty big place in history.
But there's another Matrix movie coming out.
Of course, there is.
Of course.
They never seem to stop with the finding new
Stories.
sequels.
Yeah.
It kind of is constant. So going back to what we were going to talk about next, while we're waiting for some more people to join in, horror movies, our love of scary movies and horror movies. So if you go grab those over there for a second.
He wants all the Fridays. They're Turners.
About the Medium article, sure, it will be great.
But that's not the whole collection.
Well, it's not, but we're going to start with these. Just a curiosity, sir, I'm going to ask you to go through the list and rank out of 10, because you, like me, love these movies.
Or is that one?
Yeah. Well, maybe what we could do is we could take kind of what you wrote about them and add, what you wrote about the Matrix, put it into question format, and then publish it on Medium. I think would be a lot of fun. It could be really enjoyable. All right, so let's start with Sir, Friday the 13th, the original, what would you rank it out of 10? And
8.
by the way, you can jump in the chat and let me know as well. I was just kind of chatting around here and fooling around. 8 out of 10?
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to go. So for the record, I love all these movies. I'm a big believer that you got to be if you're going to be a fan, you should be a fan. So I think they're all great. So I'm only ranking them next to each other, if that makes sense. But each of them is good, I think, in their own way and worth is enjoyable in its own way. And so all of them I would watch, even if some rank higher than others. They're all good movies. But Friday the 13th, in comparison to the rest of this series, I'm going to go 7. No, I'm going to go 6 out of 10. Because even though it started it doesn't do nearly as well as the rest of them, in my humble opinion. All right, Friday the 13th, part 2.
7.
I'm going to go 8. Part 2 introduced Jason. It's kind of the most important one in that sense.
All right.
All right. Friday the 13th, part 3.
8.
All right. I'm going to go Friday the 13th, part 3. I'm going to go 10. It's one of my favorites. Friday the 13th, part 4, the final chapter. Spoilers.
Oh.
It was not the final chapter.
Yeah, they should have not put that title for that one. I'm going with 6.
I'm going to go with a 6 as well. And it's funny because that's like everybody's favorite in the series, but it's not mine.
Yeah.
So Friday the 13th, part 5, A New Beginning.
7.
You know, I'm going to go with 7 as well. Like the twist, like the final girl. Friday the 13th, part 6, Jason Lives.
Ooh. 5.
I'm going to go with. Really, that's way too low. I got to go with 10. That's crazy. 5 out of 10 for part 6.
This is all our opinions, not a fact.
Which everybody would agree is the best one. Almost everybody agrees. That's crazy. Okay, Friday the 13th, part 7, The New Blood.
7.
I'm going to go with 7 as well. Friday the 13th, part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh, 8.
I'm going to go 9.5.
Okay.
All right. Now, we're out of the Paramount collection. That's just killer. That's just extra.
Yeah, I know. I saw that one. No, that actually just shows you how to make the making of all the movies.
Which I got to watch those again. This is a great box set, by the way. Okay, but then let's go with Friday the 13th. So Jason Goes to Hell, part 9.
Oh, that I'm going with a 9.
See, I'm going to go with an 8. I don't really like it, but
Why not?
it's impressive that they went somewhere different or tried to do something different. So I think they deserve a lot of credit for that. Okay. Jason X, Jason in Space.
10.
10. I'm going to go 9.5.
Oh, there we go. Oh, we're still high.
Freddy versus Jason.
Oh, 10.
I'm going to go 9.5 again.
It was still high. So
And
that's
then
good.
the Friday the 13th remake from 2009. That was quick. I'm going to go with oh, it's hard. That's a tough one because it was so good, but
It was different, actually. It was a lot different than the rest of the movies.
you know, I'm going with 8.
Okay.
So I think in that case, our biggest disagreement was clearly Friday the 13th, part 6,
Yeah.
which you ranked as a 5.
Yeah.
I gave it a 10. I can't believe you would give 6 so low. Somebody in the chat say something about this situation.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch it up now.
Annabelle.
I don't know none of the Annabelle's movies.
Oh, too bad.
We're gonna go with the franchise players because those are the ones that can do really well. So next one is
Halloween.
Halloween. Let's see if I can remember all the Halloweens.
Yeah.
By the way, jump in the chat with your own comments on this stuff too. So Halloween, the original,
1.
1978.
No, the first one, I'm going with a 9.5.
I'm gonna go with 10. I'm gonna go with 10.
It was really good. John Carpenter did a really good job on that.
Well, so my opinion on the Halloween movie, and this has always been my view on it, is, and this is going to cause some consternation amongst horror movie circles, but I don't care because I love it. I love all these movies talking about this stuff. So, Scout Taylor Compton from the Rob Zombie movies is a better Laurie Strode than Jamie Lee Curtis.
No, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Tyler Mane is a better Michael Myers than Nick Carpenter. I believe that was his name, or no, it wasn't his name. Nick Castle. Sorry.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name now, but the actor who played Dr. Loomis in the Halloween movie, in Rob Zombie's movies, was better than Donald Pleasance from the original.
Donald Pleasance.
Everything in every actor and character in the Halloween movies Rob Zombie's Halloween movies was better, but Halloween 1978 is still the best one because it was the perfect. It's like the perfect base on which you can make a movie. It's like it was the way I always think about it. Back when I used to be like cooking and stuff, right? I used to love cooking, and
what happened?
I used to get very lazy. But one of the things is I learned how to make a cheesecake, and
that's all you know how to make is a cheesecake.
Well, it's one thing I learned how to make really well, and it was great because once I mastered the basic recipe, you could start to add stuff to it, right? And so, like, once I found the basic cheesecake recipe, then you can make peanut butter cheesecake, you can make chocolate chip cheesecake, you could add all sorts of things, but you had to get the basic recipe first.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about Halloween 1978 is it's like the perfect basic recipe. In terms of like, it's every kill is exactly what it needs to be. It's timed out perfectly. The plot moves at the perfect pace. So once you get the basics perfect, like John Carpenter did, then you can start to play around with it and add stuff to it like Rob Zombie did. But you couldn't do any of that until you get the base perfect. And I think that's what the Halloween movie is.
I think
it's the perfect base.
I think with the Halloween movies too, like from the way how I see it, is like it was continuation. 2 was continuation from 1. 4 was almost continuation from 2, because 3, like that was, I hate to say that, but that was a 4.5.
Well, that's crazy, but we got to keep going with these. Okay, so then Halloween Part 2, 1981.
9.
I'm gonna go 9 as well.
Yeah.
Halloween Part 3, Season of the Witch.
5.1.
That's crazy. I
didn't like it.
I'm gonna go with.
I liked it, but I didn't like it.
I'm gonna go with 7.
Yeah. It was. Well, let me ask everybody a question. What happened? Did Michael Myers decide to go to Florida for that movie?
Well, it's the anthology timeline, right? Because the theory was originally the story goes, the original plan was John Carpenter was going to release a different Halloween movie every year, but it was going to be different stories. So like 78 was Michael Myers, and then the next one would be Season of the Witch story, and the next one would be like about aliens or whatever. Like it was going to be different every time. And the fact is, people fell in love with the Michael Myers story and character, and they decided the studio decided to keep bringing him back instead of going the anthology series, which I think was the right choice because I love so many of those Halloween movies. Yeah. But I would have been really interested to see if they could have done some type of anthology series. Yeah. All right, next up,
4.
Next up, 4. 10 years later, released 10 years after the
return. Mike Myers. 9.5.
I know 9.5 as well. All right, Halloween Part 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers.
9.
Good for you for giving it a higher ranking. A lot of people kind of knock that movie. I really like it. It's actually probably even though it's not my favorite of the franchise, or any of the franchises.
Mhm.
I've probably seen that movie more than I've seen any other one of them, just because it was on YouTube for free,
Yeah.
with the exception of the Nightmares that I'll talk about in a second. I'm gonna go Halloween 5, 8.5. Okay, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers.
9.
I'm gonna go 10. No, I'm gonna go 9.75.
You sure?
As close as I can get to 10 without quite hitting 10. Because it's really good, but it doesn't quite deserve the 10 of some of the other ones, like the original. All right, so then after Curse, you switch over to Halloween H2O with
10.
I'm gonna go 10 as well.
And then in the other Resurrection, I like that so much. Yeah, it was a 9.
Ooh, Resurrection, even though it's kind of my guilty pleasure, I love it, but I gotta
thought
go.
it was cool. I thought it was more. It was inventive. Like it's like a ghost tour, except you're doing a ghost tour on Michael Myers' home.
But I gotta go 7.
Right? Okay.
7 out of 10 for Resurrection. Okay, then we come to maybe the most controversial part of it all.
That was the last
The
one.
Rob Zombie movie.
Oh, 1.1.
So the original Halloween, the Rob Zombie's Halloween, you're going 1.1?
All of them.
Oh, see, that's gonna cause some controversy because I'm going for Rob Zombie's Halloween, I'm going 9 out of 10. And for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I'm going 10 out of 10.
That's why when I get the box set, I'm giving you those 2 movies.
I would even go 11 out of 10 for Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
You can't go past 10.
Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie 2009 is a great film. Completely underrated, underappreciated.
Disagree.
So good. All right. So let's then we're up to the Halloween. I call them Halloween H40 because it was released 40 years after the original.
Mm.
Halloween 2018.
Who's that from?
That's the most recent trilogy, right? The Blumhouse trilogy. Halloween 2, that was with Jamie Lee Curtis, came back in a whole different timeline. They ignored everything but the original, so they're not even brother and sister anymore. They did Halloween, then Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends.
Is that actually a movie?
You never seen those?
No.
Yeah, from 2018. All right, well then.
I didn't see that one, so I can't.
I guess you can't rank those 3. I would go Halloween 2018. I'm going to give it an 7 out of 10.
I didn't even know there was a movie after that.
Halloween Kills, 6.5 out of 10, and Halloween Ends.
Oh, okay.
8 out of 10.
Okay, those ones I see. Kill 9, and the last one 9.
All right. What about actually come over here? Still, you're always off screen. Whenever you're
I don't know. Need a bigger computer.
All right. Yeah, I like to keep it this way though, so get the. All right. So then, let's go the last one. My favorite of the series. I wrote about this in Medium. Even though I love all scary movies, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh,
The Nightmares on Elm Street. And notice nightmares. When you're talking about a plural, you say nightmares on Elm Street, not Nightmare on Elm Streets. It's one street, Elm Street, on Springwood with multiple nightmares. All right. Nightmare on Elm Street part 1. So A, Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. 84 out of 10.
8.
I gotta go 10. I gotta go 10 out of 10. Actually, no, because even though I love it, again, I'm comparing these to each other. I love them all, though.
Yeah, I like them all. They do.
So this is a comparison to others in the series, not overall quality. Overall quality, they're all great.
Yeah, you know, Freddy versus Jason. That's not really a Jason movie. That's a Freddy.
It's a combination of both, but we'll get to that one in a
But
second.
no, that's why they put Freddy in front of on the title. Freddy versus Jason. So it's really a Freddy Krueger film.
All I know
and they
is
just invited Jason and said, "Hey, want to come join the movie?" Yeah.
I did find it kind of concerning or interesting that even though
I thought it was good. Like where that lady gets pinned to a tree.
I mean, it's one of those things where like Springwood is in Ohio, New Jersey, or Springwood is in Ohio, Crystal Lake is in New Jersey, and yet somehow they managed to just drive there in like 2 hours. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Hey, Jason, want to come over? Yeah.
although I guess it's never really like explained. I don't know if they ever in any of the movies actually give the state where Crystal Lake is located. It's just always considered New Jersey because that's where the first one was filmed.
Well, they did it in different places. They did one in New Jersey. They did another one, and for another movie, they did it in California, and there was another one in another town.
All right, so
But so why we're on Friday the 13th? No, sorry, Freddy Krueger. I'm not sure if everyone knows, but the actual story of Freddy Krueger is based off a true.
no,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
it's not.
Yes.
It is not. It was based on 3 things. It was based on
First thing, the guy worked at a school.
no,
Yeah.
no,
His name is Freddy Krueger.
No.
He was in the 1800s.
no,
Yes.
no.
Yes.
I mean, I can show you the interviews. It wasn't. It was the original story was.
I showed you his tombstone.
Well, you're wrong. So I can. Wes Craven based Nightmare on Elm Street on 3 different things. So the first thing was a series of articles that he read about a group of. They were actually from Cambodia, but about a group of teenagers who told their parents that they were afraid to go to sleep. The parents didn't believe them, obviously. And then, if I recall correctly, there's that one scene in Nightmare on Elm Street where Heather Langenkamp's character, Nancy Thompson, where she finds she has a coffee machine hidden in her room. And that was based on the fact that in one of these stories, they found the coffee maker in one of these kids' rooms. But anyways, this kid, he was saying he can't go to sleep, he'll die, he can't go to sleep, he'll die. The parents didn't believe him. Eventually, the teenager fell asleep and then passed away. And it was actually a couple of teenagers this happened to. All were like refugees. And so Wes Craven read that and became interested in the idea of dreams that can kill you. The name Freddy Krueger came from a couple of different places. First, in Wes Craven's previous movie, The Last House on the Left, one of the bad guys was named Krug. So he added Krueger to it. And Freddy came from when Wes Craven was a kid, he was bullied, and the bully's name was Freddy or Fred. And so he took the name of the bully, added Krug to it, or Krueger to it. And then also, some of the neat things about like how Freddy Krueger looks, the red and green sweater was because he read an article saying red and green were the 2 hardest colors for the human eye to like look at next to each other. The hat came from Wes Craven was looking out his window once as a kid, and this kind of derelict or homeless person was walking by and had that fedora hat on him, and he kind of creeped Wes Craven out, so we always remembered that. So that is where the stories of Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger comes from. In fact, if you go to Wikipedia, I betcha it was a series of articles in the Los Angeles Times. And by the way, it's not called Nightmare on Elm Street. It's called A Nightmare on Elm Street. A Nightmare on Elm Street contains many biographical elements from director Wes Craven's childhood. The film was inspired by several newspaper articles printed in the Los Angeles Times in the 1970s about Hmong refugees who, after fleeing the United States because of war and genocide in Cambodia, suffered disturbing nightmares and refused to sleep. Some of the men died in their sleep soon after. Medical authorities called the phenomenon Asian death syndrome. The condition affected men between the ages of 19 and 57 and was believed to be sudden unexplained death syndrome. It was a series of articles in the LA Times. So that was kind of the first inspiration. The film's villain, Freddy Krueger, is drawn from Craven's early life. One night, a young Craven saw an elderly man walking on the side path outside the windows of his home. The man stopped to glance at a startled Craven and walked off. This served as inspiration for Krueger. Initially, Fred Krueger was intended to be a child molester, but Craven eventually characterized him as a child murderer. So there you go. Oh, by Craven's account, his own adolescent experience. So he had been bullied at school by a child named Fred Krueger. Craven had done the same thing in his film Last House on the Left, where the villain's name was shortened to Krug. So there you go. So that is what A Nightmare on Elm Street is based on. So people know. So A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. Why do you rank it out of 10?
9.
All right, I'm going to go 9 as well, even though it's a great film. Number 2, Freddy's Revenge.
9.
I'm going to go 8. Well, no, I'm going to, because it's my least favorite, even though it's a good film. I'm going to go 6.5. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors.
8.
10. Nightmare on Elm Street Part... No, because I can't, because again, I got to go 4 and 5. 9. So Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors, 9.75. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4.
What was the title of that one?
That was a Dream Master, sir.
8.
I'm going to go with 11 out of 10. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, A Dream Child.
9.
I'm going to go with 10 out of 10. Nightmare on Elm Street or actually it wasn't even called Nightmare on Elm Street Part 6. It was called Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, which was Part
10.
6. Really?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give it a 6.5. All right. Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
8.
9.75. Here's what I'll say too. If you wanted to say like what is the ultimate trilogy in the Nightmare on Elm Street series, if you had to just pick 3 movies to watch as like a complete full story set or story arc, it's Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. That gives you a complete and final story for the Freddy Krueger character, the oh my god, the Heather Langenkamp, the Nancy Thompson character, and even her father, and even Wes Craven. That gives you a full story for each of those characters and brings in the actors as well.
Okay, here's one for you. Let's go with Scream.
We're not done with Nightmare on Elm Street yet, though.
Oh, not yet?
No, because then after Wes Craven's Nightmare, it was Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
And now you're ranking it as a Freddy movie and not as a Jason movie.
But still 10.
Okay, I'm still going to go with 8 out of 10 for that one. Then the 2010 remake.
Oh, never seen it.
What?
No.
That's crazy. I can't believe you've never seen it. All right, I'm going to go with a... You know what? This is going to anger a lot of people because a lot of people don't like it. I actually do. I think it has the best opening of any Nightmare on Elm Street movie, even though it's not the best. I'm going to go with... It has the best opening, even though it's not the best movie, but I like it a lot. I think I like what they tried to do and the way they just went for it. I'm going to go with 7.75. All right. Now let's switch it up. Scream.
Scream 1?
So original, 1996.
10.
I think you got to give it a 10, right? Even though, see, this is a habit for me. Like, it's not the best movie.
Oh, that was a great movie.
But it's responsible for so many great things that came after that it's really hard to argue against its placement as a 10. It's like Halloween. It's not the best movie, but it's responsible for everything that came after it, which had the best movies. So you kind of got to give it a 10 out of just the respect of it. All right, Scream 2?
10.
I'm going to go with 10 as well. Scream 3?
10.
9. 8.5. Okay, Scream 4?
10.
I'm going to go with 10. Scream 5?
10.
Really? You're just giving them all 10s.
Mhm.
Well, I can't do that. I got to give Scream 5 a 7.
6, 10.
You know why I have to give Scream 5 a 10 or Scream 5 a 7? They brought back Sydney and they didn't have to. You know,
No, they brought her back. They brought her back in 6.
no, they didn't. She wasn't back in 6.
Yes, she was.
No, she wasn't. She was not in 6. She was in 5.
Yeah, she was in 5.
And I don't think they needed her. I think they could have done a really great movie without having her in number 5. Because, like, so it's interesting. So in every other of these franchise players, the recurring character over the course of the franchise is the villain. Like Freddy Krueger always comes back, Jason always comes back, Michael Myers always comes back. And when they try to not bring them back, they get in trouble, right? Like Halloween Part 3, whatever. But in the Scream movies, it's Sydney and it's the big 3, Sydney, Gale, and Dewey always coming back.
Yeah.
But a different ghost face every time.
Yeah.
But I think that they could have done a thing where they brought in a different ghost face and a different set of protagonists.
Dewey died.
In Part 5, yeah. So anyways, I would say, so then Part 6.
And then Gail Weathers died in 6.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
No, she didn't.
She did.
No, she didn't.
She did. Okay, whatever.
I feel like you didn't actually watch these movies, sir.
I watched them.
Scream
6.
All right. Ghostface calls Gail Weathers, at her apartment and torments her about Dewey Riley's death before killing her boyfriend and attacking her. The Carpenter sisters arrive just in time to stop Ghostface from killing Gail, who was taken to the hospital. So she was not killed; she was taken to the hospital.
Okay. But still, they're all 10s, so it doesn't matter to me.
Scream is probably the most consistently great movie, like movie series. They're all really, really, really good.
Well, Wes did a good job on them. That's why.
On the first 4, yeah, and then
then he passed it on to another director.
Well, he passed away. I don't know who. I forget the name of the director of Scream 5 and 6, but they're both really good. All right, let's switch it to what other kind of main franchises are there?
How about Amityville?
I'm aware of the first one, but I like the first one.
First one, 10.
Okay.
True story.
I mean, how true was it? But yeah, I agree. I would give it a 10 as well. Have you watched all the Hellraiser movies?
No.
What about all the Children of the Corn movies?
No.
What about all of the Child's Play movies?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go with that one. Child's Play, the original Child's Play.
8.
I'm going to go with 9. Child's Play 2?
8.5.
Got to go with 10. The first Child's Play wasn't even really like a horror movie. I mean, it was.
Well, it was just, I don't know how you...
But it was more like it was like a police procedural movie.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Like I just love it because it takes place in Chicago, and I love Chicago.
Mm.
All right, what about Child's Play Part 3?
8.5.
I'm gonna go with 10. No, Child's Play 3, 9. And then honestly, at this point, I'm pretty bad with there was like Son of Chucky, Child of...
No, there's the Bride of Chucky and the Son of Chucky.
Let's see if I can go through the Child's Play. Child's Play franchise. Child's Play, also known colloquially as Chucky. All right, here we go. Let's see the movies in here. Oh, so there's Bride of Chucky.
Yeah, that was good.
There was Seed of Chucky.
Mm-hmm.
There was Curse of Chucky. And there was Cult of Chucky.
Yeah.
So...
And there was a reboot.
And there was the reboot in 2019.
Mm-hmm. Didn't see that.
I like the reboot, although they made it into like Chucky was like a robot of some sort.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
On the reboot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's talk about
Amityville.
let us know your rankings of these horror classics in the chat just for fun. Let us know what you're going to be doing for Halloween as well. If you guys got any plans.
Mm-hmm.
And let us know if you have any more questions. We kind of went off on a tangent there, but it was a lot of fun. But now, what about any movies that feature anything related to Freemasonry? So back to the movie From Hell, which I know you watched it with me.
That was good.
Rank it out of 10.
10.
What about
But you gotta understand that movie was based off a true story.
well, true-ish, right? Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
So I don't know how, like a lot of people have different ideas about whether Jack the Ripper was like who he was. I don't know if that movie was actually accurate in the sense of who Jack the Ripper actually was.
Yeah, that's what he was actually a doctor.
Well, but nobody knows for sure. He was never captured.
Huh?
He was never captured.
No, but he was a doctor. But
we don't know.
He was almost like a mad scientist, weird.
But we don't know that for sure.
No, but
I mean, the thinking, the reason.
well, you have to look at because he knew Jack the Ripper knew how to use like a medical procedure and things like knives and things like that, right? So
Jack the Ripper was an unidentified serial killer active in and around the impoverished Whitechapel district of London, England in 1888.
Mm-hmm.
In both criminal case files and the contemporaneous journalist accounts, the killer was also called the Whitechapel Murderer and the Leather Apron. But it looks like there's no...
But the real main name would be Jack the Ripper. I don't know. His name wasn't Jack. It was just, that's the name he gave himself.
Extensive newspaper coverage bestowed widespread and enduring international notoriety on the Ripper, and the legend solidified. So let's see the suspects.
There were more women. There were mostly women.
No, suspects, not victims. The suspects.
Oh, suspect.
Suspects proposed years after the murders include virtually anyone remotely connected to the case by contemporaneous documents, as well as many famous names who were never considered in the police investigation, including Prince Albert Victor, artist Walter Sickert, and author Lewis Carroll. Everyone alive at the time is now long dead, and modern authors are free to accuse anyone without any need for supporting historical evidence. Suspects named in contemporaneous police documents include 3 in Sir Melville Magneton's 1894 memorandum, but the evidence against each of these individuals is at best circumstantial. Lack of confirmed forensic evidence. There are numerous varied theories about the actual identity and profession of Jack the Ripper, but authorities are not agreed upon any of them, and the number of named suspects reaches over 100.
Wow.
Despite continued interest in the case, the Ripper's identity remains unknown.
Yeah. Well, they never caught him.
Let's see.
But he died, and I don't remember of what he died of.
Let's see if we got. Well, if they never caught him, then you don't know what he died of, right?
Yeah.
The possible suspects are.
But someone did find him. But
no, somebody found.
No, but when he was dead, right? Someone had to bury him because his.
But they wouldn't have known that he was Jack the Ripper.
No.
So we got Montague John Druitt, a barrister who worked to supplement his income as an assistant schoolmaster. Jacob Issenschmid, Swiss butcher. Serwin Klawski, born in Congress, Poland. Aaron Kosminski. A lot of different. All right.
See, I'm thinking he was like he had something to do with the medical field, like somewhere in the medical field.
Well, I think that was the idea of even in the movie, because they said he had to have some knowledge of, like you said,
Yeah,
some knowledge of anatomy, some knowledge of how to use a knife,
yeah,
all that type
and a
of stuff.
scalpel
And
and things like that. Right?
but he could have also been though a butcher. Just like if you know how to butcher an animal, you probably know how to use a scalpel to.
Yeah, but I think I'm still more on 100% on as a he knows he was in a medical.
Or he could have been maybe a like a butcher or even a veterinarian, right?
Mm,
Or he could have spent his time working on a farm, because farms they had to butcher their own animals, I assume.
yeah, but I don't think so. I don't like. I'm not saying I'm disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that I don't think that.
So you're going with the idea he was a
think
doctor.
I think he's more like he was like a medical person.
What about a
Like think about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Okay. Oh, they're both the same person. Okay, but the story of him is that he had different personalities. Right?
well, I mean, it was by Robert Louis Stevenson, right?
I got the book at home, right? I haven't read it yet, but
well, so do you think that Jack the Ripper had multiple personalities? Because that was
no, not Jack the Ripper. I'm talking about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
yeah.
Okay, he had personal two people at once.
So do you think that's the same thing with Jack the Ripper? Do you think that he could have been that Jack the Ripper was like a well-respected? Because in the movie,
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper was like a well-respected person during the day,
Yeah.
and then at night he became, he became. So do you think Jack the Ripper was
like
a well-respected doctor during the day?
A crazy, nutty, nut person.
Well, he had to be, I guess, a little bit crazy to do what he did, right?
Oh, gee, like slit women's throats, take their hearts.
Well, he must be a little bit crazy, but do you think that he was like? Do you think he would be found clinically crazy?
Oh, probably.
Do you think?
But the question is what was the question is actually let's tell everybody here too. So everyone, what's the question is what makes him Jack the Ripper do all that?
Well, I don't think anything makes him do all of it.
No,
right?
but no, I'm saying what made himself to do what he did. Like,
well, that's going off on a whole separate can of tuna. I don't even know if anybody would be qualified to answer that. That would be super interesting.
There's no wrong answer. It's just their opinion. What do they think? What do they think? Like I may have a different answer than you, and you may have a different answer than your neighbor, right? But
I mean, I'm more interested. I do think kind of because again, I love the movie From Hell so much. I do think there's a super interesting question in the identity of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Right. And was Jack the Ripper a doctor like you think?
Yeah.
Was he?
And I stand by that one. Like
Somebody who was somehow self-taught.
I think he was, but the thing is too, that we're actually this is funny because no one ever speaks about Jack the Ripper. Never.
I think a lot of people talk about Jack the Ripper. Jack the Ripper is probably one of the most famous.
No, I mean today, like no one doesn't bring up that subject, right? Like, but the subject.
Oh, it gets brought. Let me see the Jack the Ripper in pop culture because it's been brought up pretty frequently. It's one of those things that's so like.
Actually, I got the books series of Jack the Ripper Chronicles.
Let's see. I think they talk about here Jack the Ripper in pop culture somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? He was a sexually person, right? But he didn't want to do. He doesn't do it with with them. He wants to.
Well, let's just see Jack the Ripper fiction because I'm curious now. So, literature, The Curse Upon Meter Square. The character Sherlock Holmes has often been used in Jack the Ripper fiction. The first influential short story, The Lodger, was published in McClure's magazine.
Mhm.
It features a London couple who suspect that their lodger, Mr. Sleuth, is a mysterious killer known as the Avenger, clearly based on the Ripper. Robert Bloch's short story, Years for Jack the Ripper, casts Ripper as an eternal who must make human sacrifices to extend his immortality. All right, so
That's just
the many novels influenced by the Ripper.
Yeah.
So the most recent one here was The Ripper Lives, 2024 by Kevin Morris.
Yeah.
A 10-part crime fiction sequel to the official account of the Jack the Ripper's murder spree.
Yeah, Cutthroat.
2024, The Cutthroat.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Oh, by Clive Cussler. And I used to love Clive Cussler as an author. I thought he was so cool.
Some of his books.
I have a bunch of his books, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what it says here.
And anyone, don't lend him no books because he'll tear it apart.
The Cutthroat is an Isaac Bell adventure tale. The 10th in that series, the hardcover edition, was released in 2017. The novel is set in 1911 and centers around Isaac Bell, the chief investigator of the Van Dorn Detective Agency. Van Dorn is hired to find a young girl who ran away to become an actress. Hoping to find her, she instead turns out brutally killed. Bell has such a hunch. This is not an isolated crime, and his hunch is correct. Bell soon suspects that he could be chasing one of the most monstrous murderers of all time.
Hey, man, you should.
That would be Jack the Ripper.
Actually, well, no, I was going to say get the book, but then that book would not last long enough.
In terms of films,
Unless you buy it. If you buy it, then yeah, you can do whatever you want with it.
in Time After Time, Jack escapes in a time machine.
Oh, jeez.
And ends up in modern day San Francisco, pursued by H.G. Wells.
Well, figure H.G. Wells would.
Ripper Man, Ripper and Bad Karma. So the point is, there's been a lot of Jack the Ripper has become very popular in.
Oh yeah, but he's been so popular that where he's actually made a name of himself.
Somebody did, but no one knows who he is. So
Yeah.
What would you say is going back to talking about scary movies again? How would you rank the whole Halloween series out of 10?
9.
Okay, what about the whole Friday the 13th series?
9.
What about the whole Nightmare on Elm Street series?
9.
The whole Scream series?
10.
All right, I'm going to go with, for the Halloween series, 9.5. For Friday the 13th, 9. For Nightmare on Elm Street, 10. And for Scream, 9.5. But again, that's only relative to each other, or like the other ones. I love all those movies.
Oh, here's one he didn't suggest. Ouija.
There's only 2.
Yeah.
There's only 2 of those movies, though.
What did you think about the first one?
I liked it.
I liked it.
I would give it
A 10 on that one.
I wouldn't give it a 10. I would give it an 8 out of 10, but it's really good. And then the prequel?
Okay, the prequel was a 10, but you know what? No, the second one, that should have gone first because it led up to the first one.
Well, but so the prequel was good. It was actually done by Mike Flanagan, who did a whole bunch of stuff for Stephen King. And he did Midnight Mass, and he did Haunting of Hill House.
That was a good one.
So there was The Haunting and Haunting of Hill House, but there was also, Haunting of, what was it called now? By the way, guys, jump in the chat. If you're just joining us, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We were talking about Freemasonry and the paranormal, which I'm happy to keep talking about, but now we've switched over to talking about our favorite horror movies and ranking our favorite horror movies.
But if you do have any paranormal questions, feel free to throw them at.
Yeah, tell the people who you are again while we're looking this up.
Oh, okay. My name is Nicholas Ramita. I'm a paranormal investigator in Windsor. and it's my email address is cptrackers554@gmail.com.
And you have done two. Well, how many investigations have you done altogether?
5,
And how many have you done at the Windsor Masonic Temple?
2, looking forward for her third.
And it was the first investigation you ever did, right?
Yep.
All right, let's see. Here it is. So the movies that Mike Flanagan has done was Absentia, Oculus, Hush, Before I Wake, Ouija, Origin of Evil, Gerald's Game, Doctor Sleep,
I saw that.
The Life of Chuck.
That was a good movie.
Actually, I really want to watch The Life of Chuck because it was a really great short story. In people contain multitudes. If you know, you know what that means.
Actually, I read the book too of Doctor Sleep.
Yeah, I read the book as well. I thought the book was really good.
It
So
was long, but
going back, when did you first become? We'll keep this. When did you first become interested in the paranormal?
okay. That's a good question. I had my first experience at the age of 3, and I didn't, and I wasn't interested in wanting to do it in about 1980. No, sorry. 2000, around 2007, 2008.
Is when you first became interested in investigating?
Well, I have had a friend who's an investigator, and he would every time he came to Windsor, he would invite me out to join him.
How many times did you join him?
4 times.
Okay, and was it always in Windsor, or was it in and around Windsor?
One of them is in Cambridge that we went twice after 4 years. 4 years apart.
You went twice to Cambridge and then twice in Windsor?
No. The Cambridge one was twice, and the Windsor one was once, and Kingsville was once.
So you were being invited on your friends' investigations. And when did you switch from going on your friends' investigations to actually you taking part yourself?
About a year and a half after that, because he taught me the ropes.
And what made you, when you were going with your friend, was the idea that you would always eventually take part yourself? Or like, when did you think to yourself, now I can probably do this, and I don't need to just go with my friends?
I think it was about like maybe 2.5 years after that.
And was it just you felt that you'd got enough experience, or what made you decide to take the leap from joining your friends' investigations to actually taking part yourself?
I wanted to do it to the point where from my first experience when I was 3, I wanted to find out the truth about things and find out more about the spirit world and yeah.
Do you think that your involvement with the paranormal and with investigations has it any effect on your day job as an author? Like, does it affect the way you think you write, or
no?
Where did your interest in writing first come?
I was a spectator of a John Carpenter movie called In the Mouth of Madness.
Great movie.
And
rank that one out of 10.
And there was a part in the scene where there's these ghouls going after John Trent. And that's where it got me the idea to go home and jot down some good titles, and that's how it became to write.
First of all, In the Mouth of Madness is a great movie.
It was good, yeah.
I would give that a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's in terms of like John Carpenter's best movies, I think In the Mouth of Madness is up there.
Yeah. Actually, Prince of Darkness was good too.
What's your favorite John Carpenter movie that you know of? He did, let's see, he did Halloween, he did The Thing,
Yeah.
he did In the Mouth of Madness, he did The Ward, he did a whole bunch of movies. I can't even think of them all.
Yeah.
I gotta go with Halloween.
I think I would go with The Thing.
There's Big Trouble in Little China
Yeah, that's Escape from New York.
and Escape from LA.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta say, one of my favorite quotes is from Big Trouble in Little China, where the guy's like, "I never drive faster than I can see."
Yeah.
Which I always loved that as a quote. It always made me laugh.
Yeah.
All right. So when did you write your first book?
After I started to write it, right after John Carpenter packed up in my town of Unionville. I started to write it.
And how long did it take you to write your first book altogether?
My first book, it took me 2.5 years.
And how did you publish it? Like you self-published, right?
No, I was on Lulu, and that was my first time. And then now I have another company that is doing the second edition.
So what is going to be the difference between the second edition and the first edition?
The second edition, I added some stuff in that I didn't think about for the first one, the first time. So yeah, that's what the second edition.
And do you plan to continue writing fiction, or do you think you're going to write some nonfiction? Or
There's one. I've already finished one nonfiction book, and it's my experiences of the paranormal.
have you published that one though? You haven't
No.
yet, right? No. When do you have any plans to publish it, or
When, I don't know.
what's the title? You don't have a title yet?
I have a title, but I'm not saying.
You're not saying. All right. Well, we hope that you'll tell us when you do. We'll make sure to share it on the socials and all that.
Yeah.
My dad, by the way, sent me an email. I guess he's watching it, but he can't take part in the chat.
Okay.
I'm going to type in welcome. He just said you forgot to mention Tommy Knockers, which is a great book.
Yeah, I've seen the movie and I've read the book. Oh.
It was like a TV movie, right? I've got it.
It was a two-parter.
Yeah, on NBC.
Yeah.
I miss.
There.
Got beat up, but here it is.
Yeah.
Tommy Knockers. You can see the side there.
Yeah. And he was a little hungry too.
It's well loved, the book. The
Does your dad know about that?
oh, he knows. He's well aware. I would say that
Mr. Adamson, you got to do something with your son because, like, geez, he's eating these books like.
well, I very much. We all got our weird habits. Nonetheless, great book.
Yeah.
Great.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, I think it's one of Stephen King's least favorite personal books, but I think he wrote
Now we're
it
going to
great.
get into Stephen King. Let's get into Stephen King.
Okay, what's your favorite Stephen King book?
No, because there isn't one.
What's your name? A few of your favorite Stephen King books.
The Shining, Doctor Sleep. Let's see what else. Misery. midnight. There's such a lot. There's Bag of Bones.
Okay, I'm gonna go with. Oh my gosh. So I'm gonna go with The Shining, The Long Walk, Danse Macabre, All That You Love Will Be Carried Away, Battle of Flexible Bullet, Colorado Kid,
That was good.
From a Buick 8. Oh my gosh. The Stand,
Yeah.
Different Seasons, The Breathing Method, particularly in that one.
Pet Cemetery for me.
Pet Sematary is a good one. Pet Sematary was apparently what Stephen King would always say was his scariest book because it dealt with the loss of a child.
Yeah. Also the loss of a pet too.
Well, yeah, but I think the loss of a child is what Stephen King had, found so terrifying because he had children when he wrote it. I think I've just listed all my favorites.
Needful Things. It was one of my favorites.
Needful Things is good. Dead Zone is good. I think, though, in a lot of ways, Stephen King's short stories don't get the love that they deserve. Like, All That You Love Will Be Carried Away. Genuinely, I think, a great, great book.
Salem's Lot,
yeah.
Salem's Lot, yeah.
Colorado Kid, maybe my favorite of his books.
Mm-hmm.
That is shorter stories.
How about Christine?
Never got into Christine.
No?
Never liked it that much.
I liked it. Bag of Bones, that was a good one.
That was a good one.
I read it 3 times.
I think that was one of the first books he wrote after his accident, after he got hit by the car. And so.
Yeah, he has that too. It's in pieces.
I have.
Bag of Bones right there.
Yes. Bag of Bones. I mean, I have so many Stephen King books. I don't know all the different ones I have.
And he has Misery. I read that.
Misery, a really good book by Stephen King. So yeah.
Dead Zone.
Dead Zone, great book by Stephen King. Let us know in the chat. Do you have any favorite books? I wonder if there's any we talked a lot about scary movies and stuff, and now it relates to Freemasonry and secrets. Books that relate to Freemasonry. There's The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown, which I think is the most.
Oh, I have not all of his, but I have the series of the Da Vinci Code, like the Da Vinci Code, the Angels and Demons, and Lost Symbol. I have that was good. Those were good.
So let me know in the chat if you know of any, not Morals and Dogma or any of those, but fictional books that maybe touch on or deal with Freemasonry. You can let us know in the chat. We'll probably
Take another break.
Do this for another few minutes, but then I think we'll probably finish off. It was great talking, and by the way, there's still time. So if you have any questions about the paranormal and
were you even paying attention to that?
We still got plenty of time.
Was there any?
No, not. I've been checking. I've been keeping track.
Yeah. Okay.
We had some great ones by Peter, though. Great ones by Courtney. My dad popped in. What would you say is the number one skill a paranormal investigator should have?
Patience.
That's an interesting one. Why patience?
Well, because if you don't have patience and you rush into it, you could get into a lot of trouble. You get hurt. Your mind has to be stabled, right? And you got to know what you're doing.
And also, does it sometimes take a long time to get a reading or response while you're doing an investigation?
Sometimes, yeah.
And what would you say is the worst attribute a paranormal investigator could have?
Get into a confrontation with a malevolent spirit.
Do you think that can come from arrogance, or like where does the desire? I mean, because in life, right, people can sometimes get themselves into confrontations for seemingly
Yeah.
very little good reason. So why do you think are some of the reasons for that?
I would say it comes from like well, arrogance, yes, provoking, uh, and just overcompensating on some questions that might anger spirits.
Oh, Peter saying, see, that's why I answered no to that question. Well, it's not too late to change your vote, or you can add a new vote in, because I know that Nicholas is looking for people to be part of his team.
Hey, Peter, you changing your mind about this?
Although I think Bulgaria might be a little bit far to travel.
Hey, that bag of bones along.
It's a great book. So what is the
It's a great book, and he's eating it up.
What would be like your kind of goals for Canadian paranormal trackers or for paranormal investigations?
My goals is basically to send out a message to people that there is such thing as of things that you can't see. Like I always give people examples, like, have you ever seen a $1 million bill? And people will say no. So just because you don't see it does not mean it doesn't exist, right? Like I go with that theory because people, it brightens up people's minds, maybe to consider there's something more.
Why do you think it's important that people have those considerations?
No reason, basically. It's just trying to make people have a better understanding about the afterlife, that there is something more after we die.
But do you think that will kind of, Peter touched on this a little bit in some of his questions. Like, do you think that brightening of people's minds, kind of for lack of a better term, do you think that will potentially help? Like, will that affect the way people kind of go through their day-to-day lives, right? Give them more a sense of wonder or a sense of interest or a peace, or like it's going to affect the way they deal with their lives day to day?
And they sometimes they'll bring more instability in their thinking. So basically, if anyone out there says I believe in ghosts and things like that and spirits, but other people think, oh, you're nuts. Well, no, don't worry about it, because there's people out there like me and others around the world that will believe you.
I mean, one more time, let's throw in your contact info and all that stuff.
You go ahead.
Well, you can say it. Which emails do you want? All that.
CP Trackers 554@gmail.com.
That's interesting. My lodge number is 554. One of my lodges. So that's a neat coincidence. Border Cities Lodge, number 554. CP Trackers. And if people do want to join your team, what should they send you in the email? What type of information should they send to you?
just send me your name and your email address, and I'll get back to you. And if you're in Windsor, it would be preferable no one from across the border, but
Why not? They could come over and do the investigations here, right?
yeah, they can. Like, I mean, like, just to be on the team, right? It's easier if it's people. We're all in the same city or town.
Yeah, although I always feel like Windsor, there's a reason Windsor's called South Detroit, you know. We're so close.
Yeah, I know.
I can see it from my house. I can see it's right over there.
Oh, I know.
I like and Detroit's a cool spot too. Detroit's a great city. Gets a lot
some
of
parts of it.
Oh, I love Detroit. I think Detroit gets a really bad rap, and it's unfortunate. Detroit Masonic Temple is amazing.
Oh, I know. If they clean up the bad areas, it would be a nicer place.
I mean, I like Detroit, and I think I've never felt unsafe there. I think it makes me sad the way Detroit gets kind of pooped on. I think Detroit's a great city, as is Chicago. On a side note, completely related to anything, I love those cities. I will give a shout out tomorrow at 7 p.m. No, sorry, tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. We've got our next podcast episode being released with Elena Gorley with Celebrate Every Step. We talk about a lot of different things. We talk about supernatural, paranormal stuff. We also talk about
books.
Well, we don't have books. We talk, though, about
books and movies.
The epidemics of loneliness that she's been seeing in her practice. And how Freemasonry may present some solutions to that. So that's tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. If you haven't done so yet, please take a moment and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. The more people we get liking and subscribing to this, the better. Also, check out our Medium page. Check out our Patreon page. I'll throw the Patreon in there one more time so people can find it. Oh, interesting. Peter just jumped out with another question.
Oh.
What are the roles in a paranormal team? Is it just a group, or everyone has a specific job to do, experience needed, technical expertise?
Good question. The roles of being on a paranormal team is it is a group, and everyone will have like a specific job to do, but they still, in a way, they still do what the lead investigator does, but they could be like, one of them could be behind a camera or have digital recorders or EMF. But yeah, it's safer when there's a full group.
When I remember when we did it, right, you did have one psychic who was there specifically because she was a psychic. You were kind of the team lead.
Yeah.
You did have, but you didn't you deal a lot with the technical equipment. It felt like, I forget the lady's name, but there's one lady there who seemed to be dealing more with the technical equipment. You had me. I guess I wasn't really part of the team, but I was there as like the liaison between the building and your team.
Supervising.
Well, I suppose making sure that at least you had some knowledge of like who was there.
Yeah.
Oh, Dad just got in touch again through email. I guess this thing doesn't work. I do believe there's something after death. Cameron dog ears everything he reads. Yes, I do, Dad. I did throw on there as well. Again, once again, my Patreon. If you guys can check that out, you can either join, at a membership level and pay money to get some special features and special things, or you can just become a member for free. That works out just as well. I was the bait, I think is what you're saying, Peter. Yeah, I probably was the bait to try to get them, to try to get the ghosts. Maybe it worked. Who knows?
Yeah.
But Peter, again, I will also send to you through Messenger maybe the list of questions I had regarding your views on the Matrix. and Westworld, and we can put those in a Medium article. I'm working on a couple right now. I'm going to be releasing another Medium article tomorrow, as well as another, like I said, the episode out.
Yeah.
So with that, I think we're all finished for today. Thank you so much, everybody jumping in.
Thank you.
We'll keep in touch.
Yep.
And I'm going to end the stream now. Maybe I'll do another live stream tomorrow. I haven't decided yet, but I might do a couple, even just a couple minutes just to say hello.
Yeah.
Let's end the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.